Get ready, because it's time for Geek Bombast, the weekly podcast dedicated to bringing you news and general discussion on comics, movies, TV, video games, and anything else deemed totally awesome. On the show this week is Michael Riojas. And Amanda Arias.
Hi, how's it going?
And myself, John Sitton. And my dog, Joy. She is also on the podcast because she is very loud today. I give up. You know, I'm not even gonna.
We waited like 40 minutes to record because of her.
Oh my god.
The best part is every time John tried to start an intro, she would start barking, and then when he would stop, she would stop barking.
Yeah.
And the second he would hit record, she would go back to barking.
Yeah.
She wasn't even looking at me anymore, and still barking.
Yeah, she is very territorial with people, so that's
that's how dogs are.
Yeah.
Especially our dogs specifically.
So how's it going, everybody?
Good. A lot of Red Dead. A lot of random TV shows I've been watching.
Nice.
Caught up on the My Hero Academia manga, and now I'm sad because I have to wait for Fridays to read a single chapter as they come out now.
I always had that problem with TV shows that I would be like, oh man, I love this TV show, and I would like catch up, and then I'd be like, cool, now I can watch it week to week as it comes out. Like,
the issue was that I did that because I caught up on the anime.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I don't want to wait for season 4, so I'll read the rest of the manga to figure out where they are now, not thinking about it, because now it's even worse.
Yeah. Or like double behind.
Yeah, because now it's like, now I gotta wait for each episode whenever they come out per week. But the thing about manga chapters are they're just like a small chunk of a full like length manga. It's only like maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 pages sometimes.
Oh, Jesus.
It's like, fuck, this is even worse than waiting each time. It sucks, but it's also really good.
Yeah, we only watched the first season of My Hero Academia. We haven't gotten moved past that.
It's so good.
That's my fault. I was like, this is really good. I want to break. I don't like jumping in like one right after another after another.
Okay.
I like to like digest things. So
that's good with this one because it doesn't have a recap like the way Dragon Ball does. So it'll repeat chunks of the last episode in the beginning. So much so that it gets annoying if you do binge it. Because you're like, I just saw that, and you're explaining the entire thing to me over again. But since it's not like last time, like the way Dragon Ball will do it, like it gets on you much worse than if it wasn't. It's like, god damn. But it's really good though. I really, really liked it. And the manga is a lot different. Or at least not a lot different. It's pretty close. It's just that there are a fuck ton of references that they're to like other things that just do not show up in it. Like there's Super Mario Brother references.
So just like other licensed stuff.
Yeah, there's like a part where because in the beginning he's like, legends come, like fiction comes to reality. In the manga, it's a picture with like what looks like silhouettes of like Superman and Spider-Man and Ultraman. Yeah, all these characters. I'm like, yeah, there's no way they could have just animated them.
Yeah. Little question marks. We watched on Verve. Or Crunchyroll, what is it called? Bookseller...
Skullface Bookseller Honda-san.
And that is about a guy who works in a, like,
just a
comic book store, basically.
It's basically like a Japanese bookstore, manga store,
Well, he works on the American books.
Yeah.
So he actually does work with the comic books. They all have, like, different sections that they're, like, experts on.
And he even says, like, in the first episode, it's like, he's like, this is actually a bookstore. We actually sell all kind of books, but we kind of, 90% of the store is manga or American comics.
But for Americans, or, like, I guess any international thing, because they can't just openly talk about actual comic books or mangas, everything will just be, like, question marks, but like asterisked out. So.
Yeah, and then they'll bleep out the name. Like they'll say One Piece. The character actually says One Piece, but one, and then it's just like it's
like P
One Piece.
Yeah,
like they, and then like in the subtitles they bleep out like the part that's bleeped out in the audio. Which is pretty.
Yeah,
I love that. People for some reason you can just do that with anime. is that you can say copyrighted things, but as long as your subtitle isn't copyrighted, it doesn't count.
Yeah.
Which is basically how the entirety of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is. Like, the entirety of it. Because there's a guy named literally Vanilla Ice.
Why, though?
And because the guy just, the creator just loves music.
Yeah.
And so he'll name anybody, like, just random shit. Like, there's a guy named Steely Dan. Like, their stands are named after songs most of the time.
That's funny.
Like, or not songs, but like, or some are songs, some are bands. But every time, the subtitles for the American ones are always just like random fucking name. That's like for Vanilla Ice, it's like Cool Ice, because that's all, like, because they can't say that that's what it is, even though that clearly is what he said. But it doesn't count because our subtitles say something different.
They so just assume that because no one in other places will know what they're saying. So it's like, you really have to assume.
And it's not like it's like, oh, it sounds like it. No, they're literally going Vanilla Ice. And you're just like, fuck, you guys didn't even, goddamn.
Didn't even try a little bit.
Some of them are kind of creative because there's a character named AC/DC, but they spell it ESIDISI. So like it still sounds like it, but it's spelled completely differently.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's really clever. And then others are just like, his name is Cars. That's just his name. And some they get lucky on because in Japan they'll put like U or O at the end of random words. Mm-hmm. So there's a character named Wamu, but it's actually just Wham. Technically.
Nice.
But they got lucky because they just put the U at the end. They're like, yeah, we can get away with it. No one's going to question that in any shape, way, or form. But we can't say Steely Dan, so we'll call him Dan of Steel for some reason because that's better.
Well, it works.
I mean, it still gets the point across.
Yeah, it's fun though. It's fun hearing the anime say something and then see what the subtitle says. Like Killer Queen, I think they call it Deadly Queen. I can't remember what they do with some of the
Killer
others.
Killer Queen is like barely.
Yeah.
This is the thing, is some of them, like, I feel like you can get away with some of these, but you guys just aren't even going to try to get away with some of them.
I wonder if it's just, like, not worth the effort, where they're like, well, let's find out. So instead they're just like, whatever, we'll just overhaul all of them.
It really isn't worth the effort when you think about it, because like, if you piss off one of them, then it might cause, like, a thing to go through.
Like a snowball effect with everyone.
Yeah, like right now, the current season, the stand is named after a Prince song. I want to say it was Golden Experience. That's what I want to say. The name of the stand, because they call it Golden Wind in America, and they changed his color from purple to pink for the main character's outfit.
Yeah,
because I guess they didn't even want to try to make it kind of seem like that.
Well, Prince's camp is real protective of his imagery.
They're litigious. Yeah.
That was the whole reason they never did some of the show at some point. Because originally, I found this out randomly, was that they were going to come out. There's a PS2 game based on the one that's going on right now, and they were trying to bring it to America, and the only people they couldn't get past was Prince. Yeah. Only person they couldn't get past. Yeah. So.
But he's dead now, so we'll see.
Yeah. He probably won't notice, and the rest of the camp probably won't notice.
Yeah. But I guess we should move along. Well, this episode obviously is going to be a question. Last week I asked for questions for last week's episode, but then literally like 5 minutes after I posted the question of saying, hey, post your questions, and I'm like, a bunch of people posted questions, the news about Stan Lee happened. Oh, yeah. So we decided to have an episode that didn't use those questions and held them off till this week. So this episode, where we've got quite a few, so we're just going to focus on questions, and we'll probably do this every now and then where it'll just be an episode focused to Q&A. Like, the rest of the episodes will just be normal episodes and then Q&A.
Yeah, it would be a nice way to catch up on topics that maybe other people wanted to hear that didn't.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We didn't talk about or didn't follow theme of a episode or something. So. Exactly.
But before we get to those questions, we have the news. All right, so we actually got a few things from this week or whatnot. The first thing is something I'm not really familiar with. This was originally, when I had chosen this news item, it was more of a Rod thing because I think he might be familiar with it. But apparently George R.R. Martin is getting another TV show based on his works from Hulu this time, and it's based on his superhero franchise Wild Cards. Does anyone?
I didn't even know he did a
I didn't know he had anything that was other than Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he has a few things.
Is it a complete series, or did he also not finish the last of this book series?
I don't know. But I can tell you, like, in the world of wild cards, a deadly virus was spread across the world in 1946. Mm-hmm. Most people died out, but those who survived either mutated or magically had superpowers. Now, decades later, the virus still exists and manifests itself in life, later in life. So people don't know if they're going to become the Jokers, the Jokers and mutates, who are basically the people who are mutated, disfigured, or become the aces and get superpowers.
There are 27 of these books, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Jesus Christ.
Apparently, Sci-Fi Films bought the rights back into the franchise back in 2011, which was the same year that Game of Thrones got bought by, or debuted on HBO, hoping to make a movie. 5 years later, when that didn't happen, Universal Cable Productions took over with an eye on making a multiple TV shows set in the universe.
Well, I mean, they have plenty to work on if they have that many books.
They're all like fucking card puns.
Yeah, it's like this franchise is
stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Aces High, Joker's Wild, Aces Abroad, Texas Hold'em, Dead Man's Just Hand, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Just a shit ton of them.
But yeah, apparently the franchise is over 30 years old, has developed a whole legion of fans and creators, so, you know.
I'm interested. It sounds like Inhumans, though.
Kind of, yeah.
Like how do you call that mist?
The Terrigen Mist.
Terrigen Mist, thank you.
Since 1987, he's worked on these.
That book series is as old as me.
Yeah, it contains 27 books and counting. It's a shared universe of anthologies, mosaics, novels, and standalone stories written by a collection of authors and edited by Martin. And so not all of it's written by him. And also, it's not one through line story. It's just different stories that take place in the universe. So that they're going to try to. There's a little bit more room for them to
a lot to work with there.
To work with and to jump around with, and also even maybe make some of their own stories that are not based on anything.
Yeah, because they can say it's just part of that same world.
Yeah. So.
Just don't make it too gratuitous, and I don't mind.
Yeah. Speaking of TV shows, are either of y'all familiar with Jeff Lemire?
Yes.
Comic book creator?
I know of him.
Yeah.
He wrote the only good stuff for Green Arrow in the New 52.
Yeah, true. Well, right now in the comics, he's doing an independent book series called Black Hammer.
Oh yeah, I think Martin showed that to me.
Yeah, I've read the first volume of it, and it's really good. Apparently, it's being transformed into a multi-platform, interconnected universe spanning both film and television, which also makes sense because the main book, Black Hammer, is about a group of, like, a superhero team who disappeared and what happened to them. Mm-hmm. And most of it takes place in an alternate dimension. And then there's a bunch of other books that deal with some of the villains they fought, some of the other heroes that didn't disappear, the children of some of the heroes, and so on and so forth, trying to find out what happened to them and everything. Mm-hmm. But they're all like self-contained little stories that all make up a universe. So it actually makes sense that I can do a series based on this, and then we can do a movie that's based on this that references the series. And but yeah, apparently the plot synopsis for it is Black Hammer is an epic multi-book saga interweaving stories, both past and present, detailing the trials and tribulations of the heroes as well as the villains of Spiral City. It is a genre-bending series that pushes the limits of what a superhero story can be, while always creating deep metaphors for human experiences. In Black Hammer, the characters come first, and superhero aspects become the canvas to tell their stories. That's kind of the pitch for
the...
It can go either way. If they can really pull this off, more so than the way the Netflix and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. connects to, Marvel movies.
Yeah.
Like, if they can make it like an actual thing where they're like everything actually does connect, I would be totally down with that sort of thing.
Well, if it's planned that way, it probably has a better shot than like Marvel afterthought doing television series and then being like, yeah, no, connected. But only kind of. Samuel L. Jackson will show up for 15 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. Apparently, it's Legendary Studios that's behind it. Okay. So they're They're the ones kind of wanting to turn this into a multimedia thing. But it's unclear what will come first, a television show or a movie. Just that they want to do both with it. So I think that's pretty cool. I actually really like Jeff Lemire. I like a lot of his stuff. I really loved his run on Superboy before the New 52 happened.
Yeah,
like he's the only one that actually advanced that character's plot.
It was great
because
I didn't
like
realize that was him.
Yeah, it was just one of those things where it's like Jeff Johns came on and then did the whole thing where it was like, oh well, it's Superman. He's a clone of Superman, but the human DNA that was used turns out that the doctor that we had known all along was a lie. And it was actually Lex Luthor. And then like every writer after that just focused on am I Superman or am I Lex Luthor? You know, I've got Lex Luthor DNA, therefore I have capability of being evil. Oh no, and it just kind of stagnated the character a little bit, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And then Jeff Lemire came on, and it was him going, yeah, I don't give a shit that I have Lex Luthor DNA. I'm making the decision that I'm going to be a hero. And there's nothing Lex Luthor can do about that. And this is me going on the journey to find out what kind of hero I'm going to be. And then the New 52 happened and wiped all of that away.
And they were like, psych!
And then they gave the character to Scott Liddell and totally fucking ruined it.
And then he died, and then no one has seen him since.
Yeah, well, apparently he's coming back.
Yeah, hopefully.
But it's the pre-New 52 version or something.
I'm cool with that.
But yeah, so he also did Descender, which is a really good sci-fi book that I was really digging. I kind of fell off because I stopped buying comics for a little bit, and that was the one that kind of fell off the wagon on. But he's literally, I love everything Jeff Lemire does.
He's really good, and like I said, all of the stuff he did for Green Arrow has stuck because it was so much more interesting than any fucking thing else that anyone was doing with him in the New 52.
Yeah, his Moon Knight was really good too. He was the one that did the Moon Knight that was in the insane asylum.
Yeah, with that beautiful artwork and everything. Yeah, that was a great run. If it's not still going on.
Well, I think it got handed off to somebody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Jeff Lemire, and like I said, I did read the first volume of Black Hammer, and it was really good. So it's definitely one of those that I'm excited to see where this goes and if it happens.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about some comic stuff. This is, I don't know anything about this. I just saw the title over on Comic Book Resources, and I went, well, I need to talk about this. Marvel has announced a new miniseries called Hulk Verines. Yeah, you heard me right. Mm-hmm. Hulk Verines, which is basically Weapon H, is basically a spin-off shoot of Weapon X, in which...
Weapon H is actually pretty good.
Yeah. Where they create a hybrid of the Hulk and Wolverine.
Who thought that was... This is one of those, we decided to make the strongest shark known to man. I don't know why.
It's really fucking strange. I actually did read everything that they did for it, and I'm actually reading it currently for Weapon H, because it's so fucking weird, because it's another one of those things where they're like, we want to make a weapon that can kill mutants, and so they use like some soldier guy, and they were like did it to a bunch of different characters or a bunch of different like random people, but it only worked for one guy specifically. But he's not like a rage monster or anything. He's just like, I don't fucking care. Mm-hmm. Like, I love my wife and I don't want anyone to mess with her, kind of thing. And then like they introduce his wife, and his wife's just like, yeah, I don't fucking care what you want. I'm gonna help you with whatever this shit is. And he's like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, we got married for better or for worse. And he's like, all right, I guess. And she like scolds Captain America at one point.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's fucking great, actually. Like, I actually really like it.
But yeah, apparently in February, Marvel will debut Hulk Verines, a 3-issue miniseries detailing what happens when Logan and Bruce Banner's Emerald Other Half unite in order to take down the government experiment Gone Rogue. It seems neither one of the heroes is pleased to learn that their unique abilities were used to create another super soldier, and they're going to bring him down.
That's like, if that just means that the series is probably going to end in like some kind of sad thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's 3 issues. It's being written by Greg Pak.
Okay, I like Greg Pak a lot.
Greg Pak's pretty good. And it will be illustrated by 2 series regular artists. Ario Anindito is drawing issues 1 and 3, and then Gui Villanova handles art for issue number 2. Greg Land is providing covers. In the first, in case for the people in the room.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like Weapon H a lot, actually, because he's not just the Hulk, and he's not just Wolverine. He's a soldier dude that's just like, I don't fucking care about any of this anymore. He's like, I just want to, like, walk around, really. He's like, I don't want anyone to fuck with me.
Yeah, and the article does continue saying, during the course of Marvel Comics' Weapons of Mutant Destruction mini-event, a soldier named Clay was subject to an experiment that splices DNA with samples from Amadeus Cho, the totally awesome Hulk, and Wolverine, creating a new era super soldier. By the end of the storyline, he had fought numerous ex-Marvel heroes to a draw and reasserted himself over the brainwashing of the Weapon X program forced on him. Now his own man, he has been attempting to put the pieces of his life back together in the pages of Weapon H. So I thought that was interesting. I saw the title. I knew nothing about it.
This sounds like a what if Hulk and Wolverine had a baby.
Well, because what I love about it is the people writing it know full well it's the dumbest fucking thing anyone's ever come up with.
Yeah.
Because, like, the first thing he fights is a Wendigo, and it's just like, yeah, we know this is dumb. And that's why, like, every time something that would obviously happen to something else... Because there's a part where, like, he's fighting these mutant things that, like, transform into, like... They can hide so they transform into kids or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it looks like he's trying to murder kids. And so Captain America attacks him, and then immediately, like, they transform back to the normal thing and try to kill the people around him. And so Cap's like, oh, fuck. And his wife just goes, it's like, you fucked up because you didn't bother asking him what's going on. And he's just like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't think about it. And then she looks at her husband, and you fucked up because you fought a commanding officer, which is Captain America. He's like, fuck.
Does it keep everybody in line?
I love, like, that's why it's like, I love this, because it's just like, it's not like, oh, it's the Hulk and it's sad and depressing. Like, no, they're having fun with this. They know how full well stupid this is. And they're just like, yeah, it's fun. Like, his wife is, like, scary to him, even though he's, like, the strongest thing on the planet right now. Like, it's amazing.
That sounds awesome.
Speaking of Wolverine, moving on. Has anyone here actually listened to the Wolverine podcast? It's the drama thing. It's called Wolverine: The Long Night.
I forgot about that.
No, I just put it on my listen list on Spotify so that I can listen to it because it sounds good.
Yeah. Well, apparently the 10-episode run, which previously you had to pay for, but now basically if you wanted to listen to it, and I think once it was all done and been out for a few months, then it's now all available free to listen to now. So
I didn't know it started.
Yeah, it's
done. No?
Yeah, the first season is done. I think the last episode came out a few months ago, or at least last month or so. But it all came out this week. But they've announced that they are going to debut a second season called The Lost Trail, in which. The second season will follow Wolverine to New Orleans after a dramatic climax of Wolverine: The Long Night, where he discovers a number of mutants and humans have gone missing in the city. So it's Richard Armitage reprises his role as Logan for the show's second year, and with additional cast members including Bill Irwin and Blair Brown. Bill Heck from the Ballad of Buster Scruggs will take the role of LeBeau, who I'm assuming is Gambit.
Yeah.
Or some relation to Gambit. So apparently fans react.
Oh, okay, that's who I thought it was. Okay, the guy who does Logan is the guy who does Trevor in Castlevania.
Okay.
Is it like a horror thing? Because I know, like, isn't the first season was like kind of a bit of a scarier.
It's treated kind of like a little bit of a horror, from what I understand. Like, I've never actually listened to it. I mean, I've known of it for a while.
We were just talking about it last night.
Yeah.
The people we were talking to kind of implied that it was like horror. So
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
was a
wondering
little-
if the second season is going to come off a little bit like that too.
Probably. But I'm totally down for this, and apparently, like, there was a lot of positivity to the first season. Like, this was Marvel just testing the waters with something like this. They actually came out and said they didn't know if they wanted to do, like, if they want to do more of these, or this is just kind
dramas.
of it's just
Really
them
creative.
It's just them, testing what they can do. And I know they've done like some audio, like audiobooks, like that are, like they've done like a Deadpool story that was like an audiobook only, but it was like. It was an audio drama, but it was released as an audio drama, not as a podcast. It was a full thing. then they've done some audiobooks based on actual novels that have been released. But this is the first time they've kind of done as a podcast online. And like I said, if I'm not mistaken, you had to pay for it originally, but now it's free.
I feel like it might have been like an unlimited thing or something.
Yeah, but from what I understand, it was on like Stitcher. Like it was originally released on Stitcher, which now I think
like
it's on
Stitcher Premium or something.
Yeah,
and
now I think it's like on Spotify and
I know for a fact it's on Spotify
and a few others. So that's but yeah, Long Nights will debut exclusively on Stitcher before being released to additional platforms later in the year.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's
Oh, it's written by Benjamin Piercy.
Yeah, so I've heard nothing but good things about it, and the fact that it's getting a second season is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, it's the guy who wrote it. He wrote some Green Arrow stuff, which I liked a lot. Which he did the Rebirth Green Arrow stuff.
Oh, okay.
So I like him a lot.
Okay. So I don't have a segue for this one.
You're doing so well.
I know I was doing really well because now I'm going into the realm of video games. Specifically the news that, Michael, I think you already talked a little bit about this on Rage Select. PlayStation has announced that they are skipping out on E3 2019.
We did, and it caught me off guard because I found out the same day we were recording it on my way there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's strange. Do they just not have anything, or?
So they haven't really said why. They just said we have no, like people actually like press them like, oh, does that mean you're just not going to have a press conference and that you're just going to be on the floor promoting whatever games are? And they're like, no, we're not going to be there at all. And they're like, oh, are you going to do like they're like, okay, so you're not going to be on the show floor at E3. Are you going to be doing like a satellite event similar to what EA does now?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we're not doing anything.
Which
like
is
no
crazy.
Sony employee will be at E3. You know,
You can't assume no.
Well, I mean, we'll be there in an official capacity is what they mean. But it's like no Sony employee will be there as an official capacity.
So is the thought that they're prepping for something big like the following year? Or
Well, I mean,
are they doing like a Sony con or something where they're
What's the rumor
So
far is that maybe they're hanging on to stuff for maybe a PS5 thing? Maybe? Who knows?
Yeah, so I mean, they have a PlayStation Experience. Last year and the year before that. So this year is the first year since they started doing PlayStation Experience. They canceled this year's. Like they said, we are not doing a PlayStation Experience in December of 2018, which is when they usually have them. And everyone was like, oh, okay, well, maybe they just don't have anything. You know, not a big
so they're
thing.
going to do it on E3 and then no E3.
Now they're canceling E3. And then when people asked, are you having a PlayStation Experience in December of 2019, they said there are no plans, but nor are there any announcements at the moment. So they could be saying there's no plans and no announcements. I've actually read two different things. One said there are no plans, and the other said there's no announcements about that. So it could just mean that they're just not announcing it, and they don't want people to suspect. The company the people that put together E3, their news people were quick to jump out on this and were like, they will not be there, but both Nintendo and Microsoft are guaranteed to be there along with all these other companies. So please, keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah,
we're not going away. And I kind of wondered, because E3 is not anything like what it used to be.
Oh hell no! But then it's also because the way YouTube is now.
Yeah.
The way media is in general, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's like there's no longer a reason to have a huge event for announcements anymore.
Yeah.
Because as long as there's just an announcement for it, like in the middle of like a random week, like if you tease literally anything, people will lose their shit over it.
Yeah. Well, it's also, the way E3 was originally a thing for marketers and
it was industry people.
Yeah, it was industry stuff and reviewers. It was a chance for reviewers to get their hands on stuff so that they could promote it in magazines and news websites and things like that. And it was closed off to the public, and then it kind of just became this mecca thing of like only a few people got in, and then they decided to open up to people, and it just became Comic-Con, except for video games.
Well, the thing was, it was rising to that even before they did the cutoff, Because remember, it used to be the huge mecha thing because anyone could go, and then there was a cutoff, and so much so that it was considered a mecha thing. There was a whole. I remember the Penny Arcade comic that came out when they announced they were letting people in. Because I remember, the wording of it was like, it was that thing, where Obi-Wan with an explosion. And there's a bunch of nerd voices, and they're all silenced. Like, that was the joke of it. That was the thing, is it was becoming the Comic-Con thing. And then when they cut it off, it died down again, and then they reopened it to the public.
Yeah.
And so it started getting there again, and now I guess it's there I guess it was there now or something, because I never noticed until...
Yeah, I mean, it's essentially the video game version of Comic-Con now.
Well, the problem is that it wants to be... It wants to, like, maintain that fire that it had when it was, like, just exclusive enough that not everyone could get in, but still, like, pretty open for everyone, so it has that entertainment value that they do, because, you know, they, like, play to the audience and shit. You have fucking YouTubers coming out and introducing the developers and stuff. But it really takes the wind out of its sails when some asshole at Walmart takes a picture of the game that's going to be released day of, and like you get no. And guess what? This game part 2 is coming out, when we all know because somebody on Twitter fucking posted it.
Or the retailers themselves fucking do it themselves.
It gets posted up on like the website.
Like, here's a release date for something that no one knew existed.
Yeah,
like,
what was it? Walmart in Canada spoiled the announcement of like 6 games.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
at E3 this last year.
So bad. And so then like any of their big like,
I think Fallout 76 was one of those originally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was on there.
Yeah,
just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, so you can't do it that way anymore because it's just not capable. So just
secretive. You can't be secretive in the game industry all that well anymore,
unless you lock it down, which might be what PlayStation is doing. Is just going, we're not even going to kind of play
it's
ball.
So hard now.
Well, it's also, you got to think about, they're, obviously both the rumors are that both Microsoft and Sony are already like very far into the development of their the next generation of consoles. Though I still feel like we're still maybe a year or 2 away from the release of the next generation of console, but that's around the time that they start like announcing like, oh, this is
because you got to get the time for the like to talk about all the developers and shit like
and
that.
Also there's not everything that Sony's announced, like they've pretty much announced the full slate for 2018, and there's a bunch of titles that they've announced that don't even have release dates.
Yeah, there's still like there's the Samurai game that they showed, still hasn't shown anything.
Oh, yeah.
Dreams, I think, hasn't even come out still.
Yeah, Dreams hasn't come out. Then there's Death Stranding, and
like everything at this last E3, I think only one of them actually came out this year, which was Spider-Man.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where they may feel like they don't need E3.
And the Quiet One or whatever the fuck it's called. The Quiet Man already came out. Yeah, that came out this year too. But that was it. I think that's all of the. Yeah. And they announced that Remedy game too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So none
and
of
there's
that
no
stuff
release date on that.
So,
but yeah.
Like hopefully that works out great for them. This wait and see kind of thing. But.
Yeah, I'm really hoping it's a like attempt at adding that surprise element back in.
Yeah, but apparently this is the first time in 24 years that Sony has bowed out of E3.
That's what makes it so crazy to me. Like it's not. This isn't just an everyday occurrence because it's still an investors thing sometimes, and the fact that they even did that for that is very surprising.
Yeah,
they're like, we're just not going to be there. Like, period.
I mean, it's huge marketing, just in general. Like literally, like the press is all up E3's ass. So to be like, nah, we're not gonna get any press this year. Yeah,
they're bowing out of like people. Have like arguments of like who won E3 this year, and it's a huge thing for them. Like it fucked like Xbox fucked themselves the first time, or not the first time, but with the Xbox One when it came out, because the press was up E3's ass so much that people still believed those things were true, even though Microsoft had backed out of a bunch of promises they made on it.
Yeah,
that people were mad about, and that's how important E3 is. If you fuck up E3, you fuck up the rest of your cycle.
Yeah. So I mean, it's crazy.
Maybe all they had was we're gonna turn every game into all our old games into mobile games, and they saw what happened to Blizzard, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna."
Abort.
You have phones, right? Yeah.
We were gonna announce the new Sony PS Vita phone.
Oh Jesus! Could you imagine?
That would have been amazing. It's gonna be like the
you have to hold it like a taco.
Again.
Yeah. Like the N-Gage.
We're releasing the new N-Gage, new partnership with the N-Gage.
With the Nokia, yeah.
Oh God.
The Vita gauge.
Yeah.
You have to be the poor.
All your favorite Vita N-Gage games.
You have to be the poor person that has to stand in front of the audience explaining the fucking stats on it.
We'll just hire Jamie Kennedy. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
That was a fuck. You remember that shit? I don't remember who it was. It was Ubisoft, I think. Is what I want to say. Damn, that was fucked.
That's awful.
But let's talk about the other side of the coin. Microsoft. There's some interesting things going on there. So there's some rumors going around, specifically about a new Xbox One SKU, which is basically, for anyone who doesn't know what a SKU is, and SKU, I don't know if you're supposed to pronounce it as SKU.
It's
a SKU,
okay,
yeah.
For anyone who's not sure what that means, like for example, you have the Xbox One, the Xbox One S, and then you have the Xbox One X. Each one of those is a different SKU. Well, apparently there's going to be a new one in 2019, is the rumor. Just purely rumor from very different sources. It's reported by Thurrott website that the next SKU that they're going to release is going to be an Xbox One. It's going to be about the same as an Xbox One S with one difference. There's not going to be a disk drive in it.
Oh, okay. You should just call it the Xbox 2, just to confuse people.
Yeah, it's rumored this is expected to release in sometime 2019, possibly as early as the spring, and it will sell for $200 less than an Xbox One S.
Depending on how it works, it could be possibly a good idea, maybe.
Yeah.
But the problem is the reason they shot themselves in the foot the first time was the whole no discs thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but there's so many people I've talked to who just who are fine with downloading their games now.
Yeah.
Like the market has changed just enough.
Are those same people totally cool with the idea that they lose a DVD and Blu-ray player?
Well, that's the thing, is so many people just have them now, and so many people just stream anyways. It doesn't bother them as much anymore. Because, like, when the PS4 and the Xbox One first came out, that was people were still kind of wary about the idea of streaming anything.
Yeah.
Or downloading anything. But now I'm literally at work and people are like, yeah, I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey on my Chrome browser because that's the thing now. And they're just cool with that. I'm just like, okay, sure, I guess.
Yeah.
Like people are more trusting about stuff like that more. But depending on how it is or something, I don't know.
Well,
that
it's
could
like
go either way.
the first thing I heard, from people was saying, was like, well, I'm not going to buy that. I need a disc drive, not for my games. I mean, I buy all my games digitally.
Yeah.
But I need it to play DVDs and Blu-rays. Like that's how that's my DVD and Blu-ray play. Like that's what most people have been saying to me. Like people who are not like hardcore gamers, that they're like, yeah, that's what I watch all my DVD and Blu-rays on. Like if I don't have that, then how am I going to watch those?
They're also killing their collector's edition. Like so many people spend like, oh, I'm gonna pay $100 instead of $60 so I can get the disc with a statue.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, if you look at, for example, a lot of collector's editions now don't even come with the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of...
there was a Red Dead collector's edition that didn't even come with the game.
Yeah, there was one for...
does it like come with a code for the game or something?
No, they come with statues.
No, it comes with all the stuff
so
you would get in a collector's edition.
So it's just like a party gift, like a loot box of...
Absolutely, actually.
That's fucking
weird.
Yeah,
there was
one was that.
Resident Evil was another one.
Yeah, there was an Injustice 2 one, if I remember.
Yeah.
As well.
I'd be pissed.
There was just like, it comes with a statue of something you don't give a fuck about. But yeah, most of them don't come with the game, and some of them don't even come with like the season pass.
Yeah,
sometimes too. Yeah, it's very strange.
Yeah,
like,
there's
most. How do you even call it a collector's edition? Why don't you just
call it? Because it's got a
statue. Yeah, but I mean, you can literally buy a statue of a toy. Yeah. You go to Think Geek and buy a fucking toy if that's what you want.
Yeah, it's really strange because and they still sell the collector's editions or the super editions online. Like Sony's done something weird with them, where they'd be like, if you pre-order this game, we'll just straight up fucking mail you a pin.
Yeah.
Like,
I did that for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Pre-ordered it, I got
did get that
They
pin.
did that for that. They did for God of War, apparently. And they're just like, yeah, buy the collector's edition here, and you'll have, like, digital art books and shit like that. And that's why I think with the Xbox, it's like, yeah, depending on its, if it has an actual good-sized hard drive, it could work for some people. But honestly, I don't know. It could go either way.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see how it turns out. Like, if it sells really well or doesn't sell well.
Yeah.
Or...
Yeah.
It
And
could change everything.
And the other thing about this is that a lot of people are thinking, because apparently they do plan on announcing the rumors that Microsoft is going to announce their new console at E3 this upcoming year in 2019, and then release the new console in 2020.
Oh, okay.
For Christmas 2020, which it's the console, the rumor of the code name for it is like Scarlet or something like that. And so a lot of people are thinking that they may be doing this to test the waters, because either they're planning for 2 SKUs for Scarlet, one with a disk drive and one without, or if this does really well, they may just drop the one with the disk drive.
It's crazy, like, because depending on how this does, it may change the face of gaming for a long time.
Yeah.
Would that make it cheaper?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole.
I mean,
If it kills the cost of consoles, or not kills, but you know what I mean, like offsets the rising cost of consoles, it might be worth it.
Yeah.
It's the argument that phone companies are doing with the headphone jack.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, without the headphone jack, we can fit more random shit into it, and it will cost you a little less.
Yeah.
And, like, it's going to be that argument, but for a console, and they're like, honestly, like I said, depending on how it goes, it could very much be the way the headphone jack thing is, where it's disappeared from a lot of phones because it did well. So who knows?
Yeah. And then the weirder part of this rumor about this discless Xbox One is that Microsoft will be opening up a disc to digital program that lets people who already own Xbox One games on disc take them to participating retailers, specifically Microsoft stores and maybe a few others, to trade in the physical copy for a digital code that can be used, that can be claimed. That's weird to me.
It's a bold strategy if that's the actual thing.
Yeah,
like,
if that's part of it.
It's so fucking bold if that's the actual full thing. Like, I don't see it working personally, but that's just me.
Yeah.
And I don't have an Xbox One, so I couldn't. That's why.
Maybe they don't think.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe they don't think it'll be successful, but it's something that they'll do just to
try to entice those people that already do have an Xbox that may want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, it implies good favor. Like,
Yeah.
we're not fucking you guys over if you have disc. We'll give you the
digital code.
We'll give you the digital code, but they don't expect that many people to do it, so they look like the good guys, even though they know that it's not something they really have to worry about.
I don't know. It's just so fucking out there.
It's weird, but it's going to be a hard transition no matter what. Like, these are what consoles are very clearly wanting to do. Like, Sony and Microsoft have kind of made it clear that they like the digital stuff, so
yeah, the rumor
it's going to be a hard transition.
Yeah, the rumor was with the Xbox One X but the Xbox One, when they fucked up their announcement of the way they were like, well, internet only or whatever. Sony was going to do something similar where they're like, everything, digital is most of the future.
Oh, it was pretty much all confirmed that Sony was going to be doing the exact same thing. Yeah. And then when they saw the
backlash,
because Microsoft did their little Xbox event like 3 months before E3.
Yeah.
So Sony had time to sit back and go, let's see how this plays out.
Like one of the most famous examples of them basically dissing at Xbox, they did like randomly. They were just like hanging out. They're like, hey, why don't we just do this quick video of like how to share games with your friends on the PS4? And it's just him handing a game over from one exec to the other.
Well, because that was the thing, is that the issue, a lot of people forget, because a lot of people that I've talked to are like, well, that's what they originally wanted to do with the Xbox One that pissed everybody off, is they wanted it to be digital only. I was like, no, that's not what pissed everybody off. What pissed everybody off was that they were going to DRM the discs.
Yeah.
So that if you had a physical disc, it only worked in your console and did not work anywhere else, which would have killed the trade-in industry, which would have killed the rental industry.
It would have killed in borrowing things, that kind of thing. And then the other issue that, God bless them for doing, was deciding to bring American soldiers into the argument, which was that American soldiers will buy these consoles and they will take them with them. Mm-hmm. They have no internet anywhere sometimes, so what are they going to do? That kind of thing. Like, Don Matrick fucked
Yeah,
so bad.
His reaction was, "Well, that's why we have an Xbox 360.
It was the fucking stupidest goddamn thing on the planet.
If they don't have an internet connection, they can just buy the Xbox 360."
Yeah, right.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
He fucked them over so hard.
Yeah, I think that was like shortly after E3 was when he announced he was stepping down.
Yeah.
And then Phil Spencer took over.
It was pretty amazing.
And then Phil Spencer was like, "Yeah, all that stuff that Don Matrick announced, we're not doing any of that. We're rolling everything back."
We love soldiers. This might
Yeah,
as well said that.
America,
No, I
right?
think he did. I think he did actually goes, "No, we love soldiers and we want them to play our newest games."
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things that happened with it, was that all you have to do is bring up American soldiers in anything, and it'll make you look bad that much harder.
Yeah. All right, well, that's all the news I've got for this week. It's all the news that's fit to be news. So, as I said earlier, this week's episode is going to be questions submitted to people over Twitter and Facebook. We did not receive any email questions, which is fine. We did not get any questions on YouTube, also fine. More just saying that as that is something that you guys can submit.
That is an option.
That is an option. Obviously, if you want to post the question to a YouTube video, we'll get it on a future episode. Additionally, if you want to send us an email, our email address is geekbombast@gmail.com. You can tweet at us at Geek Bombast, or you can always go post stuff to us on our Facebook, which is facebook.com/Geek Bombast. So the first question is our only Twitter question.
I thought you were going to be like, our first question is our only question.
No, there's about 9 questions in total.
There's just 9 of them in here.
Yeah. But no, so is our only Twitter question, which is from SipsyJP, who says, 5 DLC characters are coming for Smash Bros. Ultimate on the Switch. Which characters would you love to see join the game? That's pretty much it. There was also
I thought there was...
that was read in a way that implied...
There was, but it was like a parentheses thing, and it's like, sorry if it's been mentioned already, but I haven't listened to the new episodes yet, so...
no.
So it's...
Yeah, unrelated.
He's asking, which characters would you like to see that, obviously the only... not one of the 5 he's talking about, because there's a total of 6 DLC characters, one of which you get for free if you buy the game before...
That's the Piranha Plant, right?
Yeah, it's the Piranha Plant with the weird feet.
I love it.
That was such a great reveal. Like, yeah, I know all those fan favorites you want. Here's a fucking Piranha Plant.
Why not?
I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, now the interesting thing here is that they did come right out and say that they've already locked who those characters are. Like, no, they're not going to be any polls this time, because for Smash Bros. Wii U, they did polls, which is why we have Cloud and Bayonetta and Ryu.
They did that after Ryu and Cloud were already there. Because Bayonetta was the last one. Because she was the number 1 pick among... That was doable? Because that's the thing. That's what they said. They had to be doable.
Yeah.
And she was...
Because I know a lot of people voted for Goku.
Yeah, there's a lot of Gokus and Shreks. Because people were dumb.
Yeah.
Although I would love to randomly see Shrek show up in one of these things.
No, I totally would have been down for Goku. He fits right in because he's a fighter.
There's a lot of good mods for turning Ryu into Goku.
Yeah. But are there any characters that are not in the game? I think we should preface this by saying that are not Waluigi. Because
he's a
first of all, how dare you?
character. So
yeah, but this is his fighting character, so well, we all want Waluigi to be a fighting playable character in the game.
To do something that isn't just sports related.
Yeah,
to be honest.
But. Are there any characters, you don't have to name 5 or whatever, just are there any characters that are not in this new Ultimates or Smash Brothers Ultimate that you would like to see added to a Smash game?
Wonderful Red from the Wonderful 101.
Yeah, or even
that's a good one.
Yeah, or even some type of pull like an Ice Climbers kind of thing where it's multiple characters.
Yeah, I would love any of the 101 to represent. Specifically Red, because I fucking love Red.
Yeah.
A lot. Hell, if it was just Red, if it was just the main people who talk, like you said, as a kind of Ice Climber-ish, or even like the way the Pokemon trainer was at one point. kind of thing. I would be totally down for that.
Yeah.
He is actually who I voted for in the poll.
Wonderful Red.
I wanted him so bad. I was like, Wonder Red.
If I'm not mistaken, Nintendo owns the rights to that.
That's the whole reason I did it, because it's like, out of all of the characters I want to be a thing, it should be either Wonder Red or Beautiful Joe, because they're basically the same type of character. And yeah, who knows where they ended up on the list? Because some people were trying to get like a not a petition, but like a series, enough people to try to vote for it to make it worth it. But Bayonetta ended up winning, so who knows?
Which I'm not against.
Yeah. Amanda, can you think of anybody?
I wouldn't mind like a Battletoad or a Ninja Turtle, or
I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
just something kind of out there and weird. I guess Earthworm Jim.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, I know
Just,
people
like,
really
jump
wanted,
in like older games.
I do remember people wanted like either like Conker or Banjo Kazooie, and like Phil Spencer actually came out and said, yeah, we would totally work with them to do this.
Yeah, Banjo Kazooie was one that everyone kept saying.
Yeah.
And like I actually appreciated Phil Spencer to go, yeah, no, since they are now Microsoft properties, we would totally be willing to work with Nintendo to make this happen.
Absolutely.
Because of the fact that Banjo Kazooie was a Nintendo was a exclusive for a while.
I know a lot of people say Crash Bandicoot or Spyro, which I wouldn't mind either, to be honest.
Yeah.
I want just all of the mascots possible.
Yeah.
From any time frame, because you have Sonic in there. Why not have other weird '90s
Bubsy.
mascots? Bubsy,
Fucking
beat up
Bubsy.
Spot from 7-Up.
I would totally be down for that.
The Noid.
Noise.
I don't like where this is going.
We need the whammy.
Yeah.
What about like the Snipper Clips guys from the...
Yeah, Snipper Clips characters.
Actually, that would be kind of nice.
Yeah.
Or like little helper characters or whatever. They turn into little points and they just jab at you.
That would be pretty cool, actually. That game was way funner than I expected.
Oh my god, that was one of my most favorite Rage Select episodes I did with Jeff, was Snipper Clips. Because we spent the entire time trying to fuck with each other. We turned it into a competitive game. It's a cooperative game.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That sounds like something you guys would do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like right away stuff, like, because a lot of them are just characters from other series that I wish had more characters within them. Like, I was really glad, when Little Mac was announced for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hell, I'd love one of the other random boxers to be in there.
Yeah, like King Hippo or...
King Hippo, Mr. Dream.
I mean, shit, actually, you know what? Fucking put King Hippo in there, and then put Mother Brain in there, and then you have the entire Captain, then put Captain in there. Then you have the entire cast of Captain N, the Game Master.
My roommate was like, they should give Simon a Captain N
outfit, yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I'd use that.
Because, I mean, Mega Man's already in the game.
Yeah.
Fucking...
just put Captain N in it.
Yeah, no, I'm totally be down for Captain N. That's my pick. But moving on to Facebook questions. Dennis asks, what comics, film, TV series do you visit when you need something light and enjoyable?
Well, recently it's The Good Place.
Yeah.
The Good Place is just so fucking charming and so much smarter than it has any right to be for its premise somewhat. Like, recently, have you seen the new season?
Mm-mm.
No, I've only seen like halfway through the second season.
There's a great joke in the new season where like they're doing some flashbacks, and it's like flashbacks that didn't happen necessarily. Like, they're showing some stuff that happened within The Good Place and stuff that would have technically happened in some of the stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a part where he's talking to Kristen Bell's character about like knowing everything about her, and she's like, "Yeah, you used to have sex dreams about the Muppet Sam the Eagle," and she's like, "He was very authoritative, and I was really into that sort of thing." Is he here right now? Like, just like shit like that.
Oh man, one of my favorite lines of hers is that, like, I told him I love him. I've only told 2 men my entire life that I loved them: Stone Cold Steve Austin and a guy in the dark corner of a bar that I thought was Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was like, this character reminds me of someone, but I'm not 100% sure who.
This show it's so goddamn, like, it's hard to talk about without spoiling any of it, but the new season's been pretty good. But there's so many great little gags, like in the first episode outright, where they're just like, "Who's that picture of that guy on the wall?" He's like, "Oh, that guy is the guy who guessed the absolute closest to what the afterlife was. Out of anyone in the universe, he got high with his friends one day and guessed 92% accuracy what the afterlife is like. It's phenomenal. It's never happened ever since. And like, so shit like that, like, it's so heartfelt.
Oh, my favorite is what's the computer lady? I can't.
Janet.
Janet. When they are going to turn her off or reboot her.
Oh yeah.
Like, that episode is literally my favorite. Because, there's just a giant button in the middle of nowhere, and
she'll just say horrible things.
Yeah, and it's like, and then they're like, but you told us to do this. She's like, I know, but I'm programmed to also do, to stop you from pushing this button. So, I'm really sorry. But just understand, anything that comes out of my mouth is a complete and total lie. And then they start, and then she's like the saddest, like, it's great.
It's so amazing. And then, like, later on, like, when it turns out some stuff happens, and then Michael's talking to her, and she's just like, we've done this. Could you just stop? Just this one time, don't do this. And he's like, I have to. He's like, God damn it. And yeah, Michael's interaction with everybody, being this otherworldly person as well. There's great moments where he just doesn't think about a person's feelings or in certain ways. Like, there's in the new season, there's a part where he's talking to somebody and he's like, yeah, I made up this new architecture blueprint. It's like, oh, there's no bathrooms in here. And he's like, yes, bathrooms. Like, that's what you people love. I love to just go to the bathroom and just release things. Like, shit like that. It's like, God damn it, this show is so much fucking fun. It is so fucking genuine about it. Recently, that's been my go-to. Ironically enough, BoJack Horseman is one of my others.
That is not light.
That's the thing, is it's one of the most depressing shows on the planet, but it makes me feel so good about stuff. Because of how batshit insane some of the stuff is. Like, just from the get-go, the Navy SEAL, Neil McBeal, the Navy SEAL. That's the name of a character in the show. And just, like, I don't know what it is. It's not feel good in any shape or form.
Yeah.
But there's so many great episodes in it that's just like, man, I feel great today.
Yeah. I refuse to believe that BoJack Horseman would be the lighthearted,
it's not lighthearted,
enjoyable.
But it is what I end up watching.
Yeah.
For some reason.
When you want something lighthearted.
Sometimes you just when you want that feeling, you just like, that's the one to go
Because Todd is so lighthearted enough that it works. Like the whole subplot where he decides to make Disney World because BoJack told him that Disney World is burned down. And he's like, I don't remember any of that, but it sounds like something I'd say.
Amanda?
It's video games, comic books.
He says comics, films, TV series, but anything.
I've been playing Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu.
Yeah.
It's just a fucking adorable Pokemon. I just super in love with them. And I got because Jeff got it and he gave it to me, I got the Pokeball joystick, which is meant for child hands and my hand, because Jeff had to play it like I'm a giant man trying to play this tiny Pokeball. It was hilarious to watch him try. So that's like the easiest way to just be like, I am now 10 years old watching Pokemon again, or playing on my Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance. I'm trying to think of what TV. We've really just been down the rabbit hole, not a rabbit hole, but down just the MST3K thing. Yeah. A lot lately.
I would say for me, the two shows that I will, when I'm just kind of in the mood for something just light and I'll go back and watch MST3K, or I'll go back and watch The Pretender.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good. I was thinking of a few others. My Academia recently has been pretty good about that. Anything Dragon Ball related. Mm-hmm. I'll just watch Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super. Sometimes GT if I feel like watching a Super Saiyan 4 episode. And yeah, those are some of my main two. Game wise, Spider-Man's really good about it.
Yeah, is kind of
Spider-Man's kind of my recent go-to.
I used to just web swing.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do nothing else. I'd just web swing.
Yeah.
For hours. This is when I was maybe 18, 19 when they came out with some of the other ones. It was just, there's something soothing about it. Like just hearing the sounds of the city, and you're just like webbing around. And shit.
And it's not. No offense to Batman, but it's not like dark and sad and like desolate. Like it's very like it's a bright city. There's a lot going on. It's a very colorful game.
Not only that, with the Batman ones, like you said, like the people in the streets that you're overhearing are all like, "Yeah, I murdered somebody yesterday."
Yeah.
And then still all this shit and stuff like that. With Spider-Man, you're like, "Hey, isn't that Spider-Man?" Like, "Hey, buddy," and then they'll ask for like selfies and shit. And like,
Like some people will be like, "Hey, it's Spider-Man." Oh shit! Or some people will be like, "Oh wow, people's cosplays have gotten really detailed all of a sudden."
Like it's the little things in that game that really sell it. Even the people who are like, "Hey, it's Spider-Man," fuck you, kind of.
Yeah.
Jay Jonah says you're an asshole. I'm like,
and I believe him.
I was like, that's cool, and then you're just listening to him as you're swinging sometimes.
Yeah, I actually really like it. Like if you walk down the street, and then like if you hear that person who says like, "Oh man, people's cosplay costumes are gotten really detailed." If you jump in the air and swing off, they're like, "Oh shit, that really was him." Like they actually
react to.
Yeah, they actually filmed a reaction for that line of, "Oh shit, that was actually Spider-Man."
There's so many great little things like that.
Yeah.
Like there's a great one that I did on accident because I was web swinging to a mission. And there was a car chase in the middle of it. Like it spawned like right next to me, and it activated. And I was like, I don't have time for this. I'm just gonna go web swing. And not even a second later, a J. Jonah podcast came on about a citizen going, "Yeah, I almost got hit by this car chase. I saw Spider-Man just swing away," and I'm like, "Ah, fuck." I was like, shit. And Jonah's like, "I told you, he's a menace." It's like, fuck, I just proved his point.
Yeah.
Just fucking left.
Great power, man.
I love that shit. Like, it ended up not, like, ignoring anything else after that. I was like, I ended up spending, like,
never
an hour
again, I'm not doing
crimes. It was like, fuck, I felt so bad. Because Jonah's on top of you, apparently.
Yeah.
But he's also has like some of the best lines I've ever heard in a game.
Yeah.
Especially in the DLC, he has a long rant about shipping.
Yeah.
That made me laugh so hard.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I'm trying to think of anything else. Movies, Superman the movie. One time I was like really out of it, and they were showing a 35mm print of Superman the movie at the draft house, and I was smiles for like days after I saw that. It was such a great.
I think for me, movie-wise, probably would be like. Strangely enough, for me, it's like horror movies.
We do a lot. I'm trying to think of like if I'm in the mood for something lighthearted besides Muppets.
Yeah, besides something Muppets related. Yeah.
I end up like Blues Brothers, Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
You put Dan Aykroyd in it, I'm probably gonna watch it. Anything like that, really.
Those are all great answers because Dan Aykroyd used to be one of my favorite people on the planet. I think he still is to this day, to be honest.
I love him. I love that he's
crazy alien conspiracist. And
that's the thing is that's part of why I love him
Yeah.
because part of me is still that guy, and I'm still willing to be like, yeah, I want to hear your crazy ass shit.
For sure.
I want to hear exactly what you have to say about
Have
this.
you heard him talk about his encounter with the Men in Black?
I have not.
He did an entire, according to him, not that I'm calling Dan Aykroyd a liar. Call me Dan Aykroyd. I love you. But he had apparently filmed a docu-series about conspiracy theories for the Sci-Fi Channel. And the last day of their last episode that they were shooting, he went outside to like have a cigarette or like eat lunch or make a phone call or something like that. And he saw Men in Black across the street, and they were looking directly at him, and then like a car went by, like movie style, a car went by, and then they were gone by the time the car passed, or like the truck passed or whatever it was. And he was like, wow, that's weird. And then he went upstairs, and his producer was like, hey, I just got off the phone, Sci-Fi canceled us, they're not showing any of the episodes we made. And he was like, that was a fucking Men in Black. And that he was apparently like 100% convinced that is the thing that happened.
There was I was talking to Brian Salisbury years ago, and he does this great Dan Aykroyd impression. And he was talking about how there's a YouTube video that's basically like this long thing that's just Dan Aykroyd talking about every conspiracy he knows in front of a camera while smoking, that two like random college dudes asked to film him do. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, sure. And so so Brian did this like long Dan Aykroyd impression about like aliens and shit, and I was just giggling the whole time because it was a really good impression.
He does shockingly good impressions of weird characters.
Yeah.
I couldn't help but love that. But I love Dan Aykroyd with a passion because the whole reason he wrote Ghostbusters to begin with is because he's a believer in all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons I was obsessed with Ghostbusters for so long.
Yeah.
Because it's as wacky hijinks and comedic it is, it's steeped in a actual belief and maybe not real science, but definitely like
there's a
theorized science. Yeah.
There's a pseudoscience behind everything. There's a logic behind everything in that movie.
You know, it's the same kind of intense love and belief of what he wrote there that it's the same thing for his love of music for Blues Brothers.
Yeah.
Which is why that worked.
Yeah.
But
I agree.
Or if we want to get into like comic book movies, I still will argue that the original Ninja Turtles movie, not the Michael Bay ones, but the original,
the 90s one is such a good film.
It was up until recently the best comic book movie. I feel that, like, I think it was more accurate than most. During a time when everyone was like shitty Roger Corman Fantastic Four, where no one got to watch it, and like there was like what even this was like after Superman, after Tim Burton's Batman. It was this, and then a bunch of like shitty attempts at stuff.
Exactly.
And it was like fucking David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury.
Yeah, I will say the Fantastic Four movie, there's a documentary about it on Amazon Prime, which I haven't watched yet. But the full movie is also on YouTube. Like,
oh yes,
oh yeah,
or
you could be as old as I am, and you could have gone to places that at like swap meets where they used to just sell fan films and buy it.
Yeah, I have it as well.
I have Lobo's Paramilitary Christmas somewhere. Yeah.
But the story behind them trying to get Ninja Turtles off the ground is still surprising to me to this day.
Oh yeah.
That was it was so hard for them to get them to make this movie.
Yeah.
And then they're like, it's never gonna work, and then it made like all of the money.
Well, it was fucking great. And there's a Jim Henson costume,
Jim
Henson Studio costume design. I still to this day like can't get over the fact that you never really question that it's a Ninja Turtle in front of you.
No,
it's not a fucking cartoon animated over. It's not digital. Blah blah blah. It doesn't look like garbage until you get to the third movie and they have eye slits and you're like, I can see the person inside the costume.
It was obvious by the time they get to the third movie, no one cared.
Oh, they had no budget. There was like a whole thing. The second movie
was like, we're not allowed to use the weapons anymore because people were afraid of that.
I was still cool with it though.
No, I love Secret of the Ooze. It's one of my, it's like Superman 4. It's one of my guilty pleasures.
Yeah.
And I still quote Secret of the Ooze all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Like I was playing a game. I think I was playing this was years ago. I was like in my teens. We were playing Halo. And I was just like, I'll take the ugly one. No, I'll take the ugly one. Which one's the ugly one? Like, because all my friends also do it to quote it too. We love doing shit like that all the time.
I think John and I do. The one that I think I can think of most often is just when we're like, oh, it's quiet, a little too quiet. And then one of us will go, maybe a little too Raph.
It's like, hey, it's Raph.
Another one of my favorites that I never get anybody to recognize is this plan going to work? Is Schwarzenegger hard to spell? Huh. That and the one where Raph is like explaining things to Mikey. It means it don't work too well. Like I love shit like that. Like that movie has some great fucking lines in it. Like as butch as it is.
Ninja kick the damn rabbit.
That's the first one. Yeah. I was just trying to think of.
It's just really weird that Donatello's voice goes from Corey Feldman to the kid from Who's the Boss back to Corey Feldman.
Yeah, it's really strange. And then the second one, there's just so, like, random shit going on with it. But you can't help but love it.
Traditional pre-fight donuts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's the way he says it, too. the secret art of traditional pre-fight donuts. And they're just like, what the fuck is he talking about? Nom-noms. Nom-noms. I love how bad Shredder is when they come out. And they're like, they're babies! Like it's both amazing and so fucking funny at the same time, but also kind of terrifying because they're still like giant fucking
monsters. Yeah. I spent a good week trying to learn the ninja rap dance.
Oh yeah. This was recent, by the
This
way.
was
my
like
God.
months ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
I fucking love that.
Yeah.
I love Secret Thieves. I hate Part 3 with a passion. And I argue that the second Michael Bay one is better than Part 3.
Oh, it is.
I
It is.
haven't seen the second
The
Michael-
second one is actually.
It's actually, like, not that bad.
Yeah, it's better than it has any right to
The
be.
worst part is Stephen Amell.
Oh,
Because
poor
his Casey
Stephen.
Jones is not
Well, and I don't even.
very
Okay,
good.
so first of all, he's the wrong person to play Casey Jones.
He's just... Well, not only that, their version of Casey Jones
is
like,
not Casey Jones.
It's not Casey Jones.
Who was it? Just
It's
Arrow
not-
or what?
It was just.
Well,
it was
Stephen
it was-
Amell, but he's like a cop, and he's like, I'm a cop, and they're like, we don't believe you saw giant mutant people. And
Yeah,
he's like,
he was
I'm gonna work outside the law.
He
It's
was
like,
a
that's
prison
dumb.
guard that got punished because Shredder escaped on his watch, and he was the only person on the detachment that was.
What happened to
transferring.
my crazy, roided out
Yeah.
Casey Jones?
Like,
Well, the problem is he doesn't even like be like the, because at least with the Arrow, I'm using the Arrow because that's how he is in that show.
Yeah.
Is he's this dark and brooding kind of like he's closer to Casey Jones when he's the Arrow than he is when he's on on the movie as Casey
Well,
Jones.
Casey
Yeah.
Jones is supposed to be like a crazy vigilante guy.
Yeah.
So if you're like normal cop dude,
Yeah,
that's
he's
the
just
exact
a cop
opposite.
who happened to also play hockey.
Yeah, and he's like not all that good. Like he's just the wrong choice, and the writing for Casey was just bad.
One of the greatest
But I like
introductions of a
Rocksteady and
character in a comic book movie is Casey Jones's introduction in the Ninja Turtles movie.
Yeah,
it's
no, I
great.
agree with that.
Fucking fantastic. He comes in like he's been a superhero this entire time, and we just happened upon him.
Yeah,
It's fucking great. It's
Yeah.
a perfect way to introduce him because you get everything you need in a little fucking segment.
Casey Jones is.
A Jose Canseco back? Tell me you did not pay for the
Cricket. You gotta know what a crumpet is to understand cricket.
That entire relationship between Raph and Casey Jones is what really sells Casey Jones every time.
Well,
And
and
that's what's-
Donatello and Casey Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the same movie, like the relationship transfers from Raph and Casey Jones to Donatello and Casey Jones. Me and my brother used to do the alphabet
Oh, really?
insults. Like we stole that from that movie and would just do that to each other, and like literally we would even like stop and go, wait, what letter are we on again?
Oh, that's a feel good movie. First Ninja Turtles and
Yeah.
Part 2. Fuck
Yeah.
Part 3. I hate Part 3 with the passion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I watched it a few times, but
Yeah.
I really don't watch it now.
My friend loves Part 3, and I hate him for it. 'Cause he gives me shit for liking Part 2. I'm like, I give you shit for liking Part 3.
Yeah, oh boy, the costumes with the horrible spots on the skin.
I
and
had the action figure for that one, but his
I had the action figure for everything.
Leo's arm fell off, and I was really upset.
too much sword fighting. You know how it is.
Leo, that's the other thing people used to give me shit was that Leo was my favorite. Actually, people still give me shit for that.
That Leo's your
That
favorite?
Leo is my favorite.
What's
That guy's
wrong with
a-
Leo being your favorite?
Yeah, what?
Well, it's funny because it's actually like it's from a game nerd's perspective because at least with my coworkers right now, because when I said that, like it's all about Downey and his long reach, and we were like, what? Like it became the part of the game logic instead of the actual characters. And then the guy behind me was like, Raph for life.
Oh, live. Yeah, I was always Raphael or Donatello when I was a kid. Donatello when I became a teenager and more angsty, it was Raphael.
Yeah, for some reason I gravitate, like for any character series, I gravitate towards the leaderish ones.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason I love Cyclops from the get-go.
I
was a big fan of
gravitate
Cyclops.
towards the techies and the nerds, which is why I like Donatello.
Typically, I gravitate towards the women, but I didn't have that problem with the Ninja Turtles until
Venus de
the
Milo.
next mutation. Yeah.
That show's so bad. I tried.
Oh, how fucking dare you, sir?
I tried watching it again on Netflix when it first came
Back
on the
on, yeah.
Netflix, and I'm like, I can't do this.
Oh, I love it.
No,
It's
part
bad.
of it-
Like I
part of it was
acknowledge it.
because of
But,
Leo only having one sword.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
like,
that's
come
true.
on, guys, you couldn't even give him another sword.
I like my character with the shinobi powers.
Yeah.
The power of shinobi.
And then there's the Power Rangers crossover.
Fuck yes. Same time, Mystic Knights of Tyrannog was going on, and ain't nobody talk about that shit, and I loved that show.
Yeah, that's
I
true,
honestly
true.
never watched Mystic Knights of Tyrannog.
That shit was bomb. That was that was up there with Power Rangers for me. It was like Power Rangers, Beetleborgs, Ninja Turtles, Mystic Knights of Tyrannog.
The fun thing about Ninja Turtles for me was that since I'm one of four brothers,
Mm-hmm.
each one of us had a Ninja Turtle that we liked.
That's cool.
And in fact, for a while, we used to talk about getting just a tattoo of our specific turtle.
Nice.
And
you each liked a different one? There wasn't like
no
a
one
fight
fought
over
who it was. Like, my brother Sammy loved Donatello, and he is the tech nerd of all four of us.
Yeah.
My brother Danny loves Michelangelo, and he is comedic as fuck. My brother Jared loves Raph, and he is depressing as fuck. Which still works.
Are you the oldest? Is that why
No,
you're the
I'm the
leader?
youngest.
Oh.
I'm the youngest. The
Interesting.
oldest is the one that loves Donatello. The second oldest is the one that loves Raph. And then the third oldest, and then my sister is older than I am, but
yeah,
she doesn't.
She doesn't
care.
get a Ninja Turtle.
She doesn't care about Ninja Turtles. She loves Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So
Shit, yeah, dude, Sabrina's the best.
That's her ringtone on my phone. It was the old '90s Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yeah, I used to have the Sabrina Barbie dolls.
Yeah, I remember when they made
because they she would change into different outfits in the beginning, the intro song.
Oh, okay.
And,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and so they came out with 4 of those outfits as Barbie dolls, and I got them. I was probably too old for that, but I don't know. I was really into that show when I was a kid.
The thing people tend to forget is that Barbies are willing to make figures of things that they don't make action figures of.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Like, hell, there's Star Trek Barbie figures.
Yeah.
And a Superman one.
There's
for Man of Steel.
Spice Girls action Barbies. There's I don't know if they're Barbies, but WWE has a line of
they're not Barbies, but they're
basically Barbies.
I almost bought the Man of Steel one they made. I think it was for Man of Steel or something. I was just like, I kind of want this.
I think it was Man of Steel.
Kind of want this weird fucking Man of Steel Barbie.
Yeah.
Shit, I already forgot what the original question was.
It was lighthearted stuff we watched. Power Rangers
Turtles.
was also now since we kind of brought that up, but Power Rangers is also one that there's something fun about going back to the stuff I used to watch when I was a kid, except for Roswell, which I was so obsessed with as a kid that when I try to rewatch it now, I memorize too much of it, and it's like watching something with commentary in my own head instead of just sitting down and enjoying a show. Does that make?
I do that with Ghostbusters.
Because then you're sitting there repeating your trivia that you know in your own head, and
you're I love this part because this is the part that we know wasn't in the script. This is the part where this person says this.
Yeah,
part.
it pulls you out a little bit for me because I remember being the person that was fully immersed in stuff, and then now I'm just in the book it was actually different because this is how it happened.
Especially with Ghostbusters 2, I know a shit ton about Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah,
I'll sit there and be there's this deleted whole subplot that was supposed to be here that you can see part of that's still around in this specific sequence, kind of thing. I'll say shit like that.
Yeah.
And my roommate's just what the fuck is wrong with you? I was I had read the comic adaptation they did for the real Ghostbusters. I don't know, these little things. There's just shit like that.
It's in my head. I have to say it out loud, otherwise it just
I know a shit ton about Superman 4 for some reason. And I remember I first showed that to my roommate. He's why are we watching Superman 4? I'm because I love Superman 4. I don't know why, but it has some of the worst, best moments in anything Superman related to this day. Specifically, there's one sequence I love showing people, which is the Great Wall of China sequence. Because once the wall comes down or whatever, the way he fixes it is he stares at it and then it rebuilds itself. But the reason I show that sequence is because the look on Christopher Reeve's face right after he does that basically looks like I want to die. It's the kind of face that's why am I doing this?
They had me stare at the Great Wall of China.
It was really fucking funny. I love that movie for all the wrong reasons, though.
All right, well, let's move on to the next question. Or we could be no, that's not the time we have this week. No.
Was the next question about Superman 4?
No.
That's all the only answers we have
Did
now.
you hear about that? John Cryer is going to be Lex Luthor in Supergirl.
Oh my god, yeah, I did hear that.
And he played Lex Luthor's nephew,
Lenny
on Superbad 4.
Lenny Luthor.
And I couldn't stop laughing.
Or Lonnie? Was it Lenny or Lonnie?
Lonnie, I think. It's been... Shit, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I just remember the car he had.
I know it was an L name.
With the giant speakers. Or they weren't even speakers, they were horns for some reason.
Yeah.
It was dumb as shit. But Superman 4 went full circle, now he's Lex Luthor.
Jesus.
Yeah. But the next question is from Jeremy, who says, have any of you guys watched the new, quotation marks on new, Voltron show on Netflix? I only put the new to separate it from the original. I know it's been out for a few years now. I personally think it's one of the best animated shows of the past decade, yet I never hear anyone talk about it.
You've not talked to Matt Franklin at any point in your life.
Yeah,
he always play both.
I have watched up to season 4.
I'm about the same.
And I also played the VR game.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, I actually wish they'd released more of those, because it kind of felt like they were gonna release one individual episode for of the VR game for each lion, and they only released the Blue Lion one, and it's
And they were like,
it's really good. Like it's like you're playing an episode of the show.
That's fucking rad, actually.
Yeah, and I actually was like, I really dug the VR, because like you get to fly the lion from the inside the cockpit, and
That sounds cool.
yeah,
actually.
it's actually like really cool. Like, I actually think it's one of the better VR experiences on the PSVR.
I like the show a lot, actually.
Yeah.
It's willing to do things that are different for the show. Like,
Yeah.
It's really interesting. Although I wish there were more monsters in it.
Yeah.
But I like it a lot, personally. Although I think wish Voltron sword was more like the old one, because I like that distinct design. of the
Oh,
old
yeah,
one.
yeah.
But that's just me, personally.
Yeah. Did you watch any of it, Amanda? I forget.
No, I got like the edge pieces of it when I'd like be in the room when you're watching an episode or two, but I never really caught on to
I
it.
keep almost buying the giant figure for it, because it's at Walmart all the
Yeah.
time.
Is it as big as our Megazord?
It's a little shorter.
Yeah.
It's about
But-
the size of the
pretty
Jaeger.
proud of our Megazord.
It's the size of the Jaeger you
Yeah.
guys have.
So for those wondering what he's referring to, we have a Pacific Rim Gypsy Danger Jaeger, which is like the big one. And then we also have a child's like Megazord.
Which I found outside my own work.
Yeah.
Which is amazing, because I've always wanted one.
I sat outside my work for 40 minutes, I think it
Yeah,
was,
something
waiting
like
for
that.
somebody to pick it up, because I was like, there's no way this Megazord is just sitting out there.
It's in good condition. Like, it's not.
Yeah, it was. It's like perfect. And so I was
Yeah.
just sat there waiting for somebody, and nobody came and picked it up. So I was like, well, nobody. You don't just leave shit like that outside.
Yeah.
And then
it's on
I took
purpose.
it, and people were like, you probably made some sad, poor child miserable. And I'm like, what? Who brings? It's the size of a small child.
Yeah.
Who brought that? And they're like, my kid always carries big toys around, and I don't know, that's
Did you
just
just
the way
leave
it
them
is.
on the side of the building?
Yeah, I was like, well, I hope that kid learned a valuable fucking lesson.
He
Then.
not only learned a valuable lesson, but in Toy Story rules, that toy needed saving.
Yeah, right. You can't just leave a toy out.
Can't just
Yeah.
leave it outside.
It was also Kismet, because it was like the week before we.
It was
went
my
to-
last day of work before you and I started driving to California to go to
Power Morphicon.
Power Morphicon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was just like, you know, I'm at work and I'm getting text messages about. She's like, "What would you say if I brought this home with me and took a picture?" I was like, I wouldn't have a problem with
I
it.
remember seeing you posting about it on Facebook. Like, hey, how much time does it take to get a Megazord that's on the side of the side of
Yeah.
a building?
Well, I just felt bad, but then like part of me was like, I don't want to leave it and have another random person come pick
Half
it
of
up.
my action figures that I got as a kid were like that. It was
Yeah.
me finding them outside. Hell, there were like random things. All right, my friend Hilario just finds shit on the side of the road all the fucking time. Like he found, in Power Rangers, they the version that's based on Gokaiger, they made those keys.
Yeah.
He just found like 5 or 6 of them outside of the Riverside campus, just there. And
I think the weirdest thing we ever found on the side of the road was the fucking K9 from Doctor Who.
Yeah,
Somebody
like a homemade
made their
out
own
of,
K9
like-
and then threw it away, and we were like,
There was
"Oh,
like
I
a
guess I'll
remote
take
control
it."
car
Fucking
that they
crazy.
removed the car part of, and it's just the base of the remote control car, and then they made a K9 out of like what is it, foam core and like tubing and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and then like
so it was
like,
really light.
put it on top of the body of this remote control thing, and even left the controller out in the open.
holy shit.
So it's like, I was like, it's a fully working K9. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you take that? Yeah, he like every now and then my friend will still like randomly like, hey, look what I found. Like he found like a whole Castlevania game cartridge.
What the
Wow.
fuck?
It was the Game Boy, one of the Game Boy Advance ones. And he's like, yeah, I just found this, and we sent it. It worked perfectly fine. He found a fucking.
Your friend's
found
stealing
a
stuff from
Gundam model
people's houses.
on the ground.
There's no way.
I was with him one time. We were walking. We were just talking, and he's like, "Is that a Gundam model?" It was literally just a fully made Gundam model
Wow.
of like the Victory Gundam that was just lying in the
People
grass.
just making life choices around him.
Apparently.
They're like, I'm not a nerd
Like,
any
I remember he
longer.
walked up to me. He's like, "Well, look what I found!" And it was one of those Bluetooth controllers for a cell phone that was perfectly fine
What
with
the
a little
fuck?
dirt on it. Worked perfectly fine. And he would just walk up to me with these things. I'm like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah, where is he
I was like,
walking?
"Found it in the parking lot." I'm like, "What the fuck?"
That's
It's like, all I find is like a penny, and you're finding like whole fucking video games and movies and shit and action figures. I still have the model of the Gundam because he gave it to me. It's like it's at my apartment somewhere. And I was just like, that's fucking weird, but okay.
Not gonna say no.
He hasn't done it in a while because we haven't been in that area anymore. But yeah, he used to just find random shit all the time. Like I had one of those keys, but my dog chewed up the heads off of them, so I don't have them anymore.
It's like you're not a Power Ranger any longer.
Yeah, I was a little bummed out because they were all like Mighty Morphin ones.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like one of them was the red one with the shield thing on
the
it.
dragon shield.
Dragon shield, and I was like, that's fucking rad. And he just gave them to me because he just found them in the middle of the fucking road.
God damn.
So apparently
You need to
people
be
were
friends
just
with your
leaving
friend.
shit. Or maybe we just need to look in that area over and over again. Because apparently it's like a drop point for games and shit.
Yeah. Moving on, Russell asks, what are your feelings about Dark Souls and Bloodborne if you've played them?
I like Bloodborne way more than I like Dark Souls.
I love Bloodborne. Like, I am terrible at it. Like, I am fucking, like, I literally spent 4 months in that beginning area before you fight the character of Father Gascoigne.
Oh, okay.
Because I couldn't beat Father Gascoigne.
He's so hard.
4 months. But I was perfectly okay with it. Like, at no point was I like, fuck this game, it's too hard. I was just like, oh, yeah, whatever. You know, like, just playing it because I was really enjoying the way the game was played. I don't like playing Dark Souls because I find the game to be boring when I'm playing it. But I actually kind of enjoy watching others play it.
The thing about Bloodborne and Dark Souls that I've noticed is the reason that I like it more, or like Bloodborne more, is the aesthetic. Because when you're in Bloodborne, everything is just like so fucking cool to look at, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
Like it's this great gothic thing. Every enemy looks like this horrific, fucked up version of a person that's slowly kind of turning into a werewolf. Maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes is that you see, and you're just like, what the fuck, and like everything is so unique that I rarely ever get tired of running into a new enemy. Whereas with Dark Souls, you're like, you're a knight-looking dude. There's a dragon over there, I think. There's also like another knight over there, I guess. Whereas in Bloodborne, I'm like, that is a literal giant pile of snakes that is shooting poison at me.
Yeah.
That is chasing me down. I'm both terrified and very impressed.
Yeah, because I for Rage Select for their Patreon bonus videos that they do over there, I did pretty much all the Dark Souls and Bloodborne games with Jeff, and
the full sequential.
Yeah, I've done like full sequentials of every Dark Souls game, including Demon Souls.
Oh wow!
Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3, and then Bloodborne. I don't remember what order we actually played them in. I think we played Demon Souls last. But I have literally watched Jeff play all the games, and you know what? I'm okay with that because I actually was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. You know, I can actually watch someone play these games. Where, you know, with like you said, with Dark Souls, I kind of don't care about the lore.
Yeah, the lore isn't all that interesting.
It's typical fantasy stuff.
Well, there's some interesting stuff in it, but it's usually stuff that like you're not really gonna find in the game all that easily.
Yeah.
Whereas in Bloodborne, like there are little things that are going on that you're just like, that's interesting. Like stuff like for instance, like early on, there's like a little girl that you talk to through a windowsill, and you're just like, you know, go to safety and shit, and then you just randomly find a ribbon with this man-eating pig.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I murdered the shit out of that thing.
Yeah.
Like, so fast after that happened. But that's one of those things, is there are things, there are beginning, middle, and ends to little side plots that you can see and you feel.
Well, that actually storyline is actually really fucked up.
It's super fucked up.
Because her father is Father Gascoigne.
Yeah.
Who is the guy who was the first boss you kind of run into the game.
Yeah.
And the big thing is she talks about how her mother went looking for their father. And so you can either tell her to stay home or to go to safety or whatever. And she's like, no, I will not leave this house until I know what happened to my mother. And then you essentially find the mother dead. And you get like this locket to take to the mother, or that was on the mother to show that she died. And then also you have to kill Father Gascoigne because you find out that Father Gascoigne killed the mother because he went mad, mad with insanity or whatever. And so you go back to her, you take, and she's like, oh, well, now I know. What should I do? And you're like, oh, go to safety. So she goes to safety, and then you run across this man-eating pig that has the fucking locket.
Yeah.
That's the same locket. And then so you go back. If you go back to the home, it turns out she has an older sister that doesn't know where she is. And if you tell her and give her the locket, say, oh, by the way, I gave this to your sister, your mom's dead, your dad's dead, and your baby sister's dead, she commits suicide right then and there.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah,
the game is so fucked up in that sort of way. And there's so many other little side plots. Like, there's a character very early on, like, so early on, she's like one of the first people you talk to.
Yeah.
Basically. And then you find out stuff with that, and you're like, oh, fuck. Like, every time you meet a new character, there's something fucked up going on at some point.
Well, these are not lighthearted games.
No, they're not. They're not.
But there's so many interesting things going on in it. I think my favorite thing is the whole Cthulhu aspect of it.
Yeah.
Because at one point, I remember there was chunks, because I didn't know this when I first played it, because no one bothered telling me, was that there are areas that when you walk into, you'll just die. And I was trying to figure out why I was dying in these areas. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, why I walked in here, I flew into the air, and then I died. And I was like, I don't understand. But later on in the game, you do something that causes you to see everything, essentially. And it turns out there's these giant fucking Cthulhu monsters just hanging out
on the side of a building. So when you walk out, they'll either shoot you with a laser beam or they'll grab you, pick you up, and
Yeah.
So you're seeing your character lift up in the air, not held by anything, so you don't know why it's happening, and then when you see them there, you then realize,
yeah, the first time I walked outside and I saw it, and I was like, oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
But then I understood why I was dying, so I could just walk around it, kind of thing. Because that's the thing, is when it's invisible, like, you can actually see it before that point if you have enough, insight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something like that. So you can just see what they are. But I was just so, like, not ready for that.
Yeah.
So when it happened, I was like, oh, God.
Yeah, like legitimately impactful.
And, for me, I tend to... The other reason I like Bloodborne more than Dark Souls is because Dark Souls is very... Like, the combat is very slow-paced. It's very methodical. You don't want to go in there hacking and slashing.
Right.
You want to go in there and time your attacks. And Bloodborne, it's the same way, except it's a little bit faster paced. Like they removed shields from the game. You have a secondary weapon that's a gun that's for like close stuff, and they want you to dodge out of the way. They want you to use the gun. They want you to. And it's a little bit faster paced, and I kind of enjoy that a little bit more. So the control, but the thing is, like, everyone's always like, "Oh, these games are hard. These games are hard." The funny thing is, the reason I actually played Bloodborne for like 4 months in the opening fucking area and never had a problem with it is because every time I died, I was like, "Oh, that was my fault."
Yeah, you never once feel like the game is fucking with you. In that
Yeah.
Or actually, no, that's not entirely.
Well,
there's like one or two characters where you feel like that, but they're just one or two guys.
Yeah.
Like one of them.
But
is
for the
Father
most part,
Gascoigne.
when you die, it's like, I that was my fault.
Yeah.
I didn't dodge when I should have, or I got a little bit too aggressive when I was like, a little bit aggressive on attacking when I should have been a little bit more defensive. So because of that, it never felt like it was unfair. So I never got frustrated with it. So it was just. And then I just got kind of eventually got tired of playing the same area and went, well, I'm not good enough to get past this. And I think Jeff was like, well, I'll help you get past it, and he helped me get past it. And then I was like, well, now I feel like I've got no accomplishment because I just watched Jeff walk in and defeat the boss for me.
Yeah.
I brute forced him after a while. Like, I just kept doing it over and over and over and over again. By the time I realized that, I started memorizing little things he was doing. And I was like, oh, I know how to fuck you up now. And, and it became this great moment. And the thing is, I used the cane whip the entire game.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm a giant Castlevania nerd.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want a whip. And Jeff's like, well, the only thing that's a whip is this cane whip. Done. So I would always use it in its whip form. I would rarely use it in its cane form. And my friends were like, you're making this way harder for yourself. And I was like, I am, but this feels amazing. That game is so fucking good, and I read some of the comic, which I really like, but I never finished it. I feel like I should go back to it because it's like a mini series they came out with.
Yeah.
I heard it was pretty good.
All right, well, moving on to the next question. This is from actual friend of ours, Joseph Compton.
Never heard of him. I'm just kidding.
Who?
Yeah.
Some Compton boy. I'm just kidding. Okay.
Yeah. But he says, what new music, or at least new to you, have you been listening to lately? Me personally, I've been I've lately gotten into a lot of future funk style music, such as Android 52, Young Bay, and Night Tempo.
Young Bay sounds like
So it's like bad libs. I'm sorry.
Yeah. As well as lo-fi like City Girl and In Love with a Ghost. I'm gonna admit,
Those are all just words to me. I'm the worst person to ask this question to, by the way, because half of my music on my phone is all like stuff I've gotten from things I watch or play.
Yeah.
Like the closest thing is I've been listening to You Say Run a lot from My Hero Academia.
Okay.
Because it's a fun this fun little soundtrack piece that for some reason goes with a lot of stuff. So I've just been listening to it randomly.
Well, and this question was originally asked last week. This is one of the questions from last week that I was kind of like, man, it's not good. That would be a good question for Amanda, because I know Amanda's very into music. She's introduced me to a lot of new music, and I've kind of introduced her to a lot of
Yes.
what would be for me older music.
I don't have a great way of answering this, because I have a tendency to just be like, oh, I like this song, so I'm gonna listen to it, or I really like it. I love covers of I love covers of songs, especially when they're punk covers of pop songs.
Yeah. I'm a huge fan of punk covers of anything.
Spanish covers of any song.
Yeah.
Anything that's Spanish and is a cover of a song I know.
My trainer recently introduced me to bluegrass covers of songs.
Some are fucking
And
fantastic.
some of them are phenomenal. Some of them are just like,
Dixie
this
is
doesn't
pretty
work
good.
as well.
Oh yeah, AC Dixie is
Yeah.
It's Hayseed Dixie.
Hayseed.
I'm a big fan of mariachi covers of video game music from a band that is actually in San Antonio called I think it's called Mariachi Entertainment System.
I'm gonna look it up right now.
They do some amazing stuff. Like one of my favorites is they did a version of a Vegas theme with the 1-Ups.
Oh, nice.
It's so fucking good.
I'm literally just adding it to my playlist.
They did the Moon from DuckTales. They did a few Mega Man songs. They did part of a Kirby one.
Bloody Tears from Castlevania
Bloody Tears
2.
from Castlevania. So
Sewer Surfing.
a lot of it's like there's a lot of violins going on it, so their Bloody Tears is really good because of it. And they actually played at PAX South not too long ago too.
Okay.
Nice.
One of the guys that's part of it now, I went to high school with.
Oh, nice.
His name is Robert Sabo, and I remember it's funny because I was showing old high school friends of it, and then we stopped and we're like, is that fucking Sabo? Because we're just like, it's fucking Sabo, like he's now in there, like, and so I became obsessed with him. I found out about him through a podcast on one of us called Public Access.
Oh, okay.
They were interviewing the guy because he went to Texas State, and he was saying how he would listen to people like the 1-Ups and stuff, and they'd be making covers of video game music. He's like, why are there not mariachi covers of anything? And part of it's because mariachis are very steeped in traditional culture.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they look down on people who want to do other things that aren't just mariachi related.
Yeah.
And so he's like, fuck that. I'm just gonna do whatever I want.
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Well, it's like I'm a huge fan of punk and ska. Like that's kind of where my musical taste, like pop punk, any form of punk and ska, like those are the things. And it's funny because like one of a band I've recently gotten really into is a punk band, but then started a mariachi band on the side, and I don't care for them as a punk band, but I love them as a mariachi band. They're
That's
Mariachi El Bronx.
Oh wow!
With their punk band is The Bronx, so their mariachi band is Mariachi.
When
El
they
Bronx.
perform live, they open for themselves sometimes.
Yeah,
That's fucking
yeah. They'll be
awesome.
like Mariachi El Bronx will be the first band, and then there'll be like another band, and then they'll come out as The Bronx as the headline or whatever.
Mariachi music is always been one of my favorite things to see. I went to high school with a lot of people who were really good at it. One of them's an old friend of mine. I haven't seen him in years, but when you got him to sing, it was fucking beautiful every goddamn time. He was a great trumpet player too, so that helped too.
Yeah, I mean, it really lends itself to the idea of punk or ska, because you get that horn section, you're basically halfway there.
Yeah.
I was doing fucking I don't know why. There's this song called Skeleton Man.
Oh.
I gotta look up the band name. Okay. The Axis of Awesome. So they're like a comedy, musical comedy act. Mm-hmm. And then they have this one song called Skeleton Man, which is really just them like... Basically, a kid broke his arm when he was a kid and got an x-ray and discovered that he's deep down inside part skeleton. And so then it becomes this whole thing, and like one of the singers realizes that they're literally talking about anybody could be Skeleton Man because everybody has skeleton inside them, and he's like, that's dumb. That's like saying, ooh, it's Skin Man, and then the song changes and it's like, ooh, Skin Man, and it's just
arch enemy of Skeleton Man.
Yeah. And so it's just this like ridiculousness, but that just brought me down to the Axis of Awesome, because the best part about Spotify is that they'll like lean you towards similar artists, and then I just end up going through the like similar artists. Ooh, I like this song and that song and this song, and then different similar artists, this song and this song and this song, and I ended up listening to older like Brental Floss doing his BioShock songs are fucking great. I don't always like Brental Floss, but his BioShock songs are great.
Yeah, he's one of those hit or miss guys.
Yeah,
like some of his stuff is some of the funniest things I've ever heard. Some of them are just like, but some of them have been stuck in my head for years. Like the one for Dr. Wily's stage that he did. Every now and then I'll play that game, and I always think some of the lyrics on that one. It's just so strange.
Yeah.
To think the Rush Limbaugh in the middle of a Mega Man song because of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other bands that I've been listening like heavily into, like Streetlight Manifesto. I started listening to a lot recently. Speaking of covers, it's actually I found them through their Facebook channel that's been kind of popping up a lot lately. Ska Tune Networks, which is basically one guy who literally just adapts music from like mostly Cartoon Network theme songs into ska music. But he also has another band. I can't remember the name of the other band, but they just did a tour with Real Big Fish, where they were doing a tour of his actual band, and then his actual band split off from them to do from that tour to do their own little tour, where the Ska Tune Network band opened for his actual band.
That's kind of nice.
But yeah, it's like he just does ska versions of theme songs and other like geeky things.
Suburban Legends was one that's like probably a couple of years old for us now, but they do a lot of like they actually worked as a band in downtown Disney in California, and so they would do a lot of like pop punk ska covers of Disney songs. So they have a lot of, and then they also did the cover of the Golden Girls theme song, which is fucking fantastic.
Yeah. What's funny about them is that they stopped touring for a long while because, if I'm not mistaken, 2 of them actually worked for Disney and did some of their music stuff for the Disney Channel. And they kind of were like, well, we can't tour anymore because of this, but because they still were a band, they got to play at during downtown Disney in California, and then I think that may be done, which now they've started touring again.
Yeah,
I still listen to a lot of Ninja Sex Party and Star Bomb. Those 2 I still think are really
Was there ever another Star Bomb?
Last I heard they were working on it. But
okay.
There's 2 of them so far, and that's it.
The Castlevania song is, we talked about it last time, I think, but God, I love that fucking song. It shows up on my playlist every once in a while. I'm just like, God damn, do I love this song.
I'm going to listen to Smash whenever the new Smash Brothers comes out a lot. I guarantee you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then...
Because they got Markiplier to be that announcer for it, and it makes me laugh every fucking time.
I forgot about that. God damn.
And then band, not new to me in any way, shape, or form, but it's the band I kind of go to listen to whenever I kind of want to listen to, like whenever I just need a palate cleanser or whatever. It's 30 Foot Fall. Mm-hmm. I think more people should listen to 30 Foot Fall. They're a band from Houston, punk band. I know they've got a new album that they're supposed to be coming out with sometime soon. I think
it got delayed because they lost a member. Right?
Yeah, one of their original guitarist died.
I still listen to the Blues Brothers all the time.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
All the time. Like it's funny because the whole reason I was obsessed with them, well, besides the movie, was that my brother bought me a briefcase full of blues for my 14th birthday.
Nice.
Like, and I still have the CD in my car somewhere, and I ended up buying the record for that and the record for the movie soundtrack.
Did you know that Dan Aykroyd for a long time played Elwood Blues on the radio and would?
I did. I wrote a paper about the importance of the blues, and I used him as a reference.
Yeah.
But when I did, I used him as Elwood Blues as the reference, and my English teacher was like, I'm going to tell you right now that Elwood Blues is not a real person.
Yeah, he played the character. Though,
that was the thing, is he was just like he's like, I'm going to let it go because I'm also a Blues Brothers fan, because he was a big nerd too. And he was like, but just know that next time you do that, they were not going to be so nice about it. Yeah. It's like, fair enough.
Right, but that is his DJ name. It makes sense to use it because that's what he
still does Blues Brothers stuff with Jim Belushi.
Yeah.
I almost went to when they were here a few years back.
Oh man, I would love to see them live.
It was like $70 though.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, it's just
I didn't have any. I was working
easier said than done though. Yeah. Like when it's always like the most inconvenient time that they're like, "Oh, do you guys have a lot of bills to pay? Because here we come."
Or tickets go on like when they're in town. You had the money. You have the money, but when the tickets went on sale and sold out, you didn't.
Yeah, that's why I didn't go to MST, because like I don't have the money for that, and I didn't have any money to give them to get me a shirt either. But yeah, when I actually still have like the ad pamphlet at my apartment.
Nice.
It was for some benefit, and it had like I showed it to. But it was funny because the only reason I was a little bit hesitant of maybe doing it was they did the SNL anniversary thing around the same time.
Oh.
They were awful in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I should go now, if I want to go. And I was like, I was working retail. $70 was a lot of money back then.
For sure. And shit, it's still a lot of money now.
Yeah.
And but now I'm like, I should have gone. Like, I would have at least been able to see if I could have met Dan Aykroyd or something.
Oh, fuck.
I was bummed out when he was here for the Crystal Skulls stuff. He was signing. This was before I had a smartphone, so I didn't know where he was. So I couldn't find out where he was to go do it. And I was like 18, 19, something like that. So I don't even know if they would have let me in since it was a liquor store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I heard he was like super fucking cool. Like everyone who showed up as a Ghostbusters, he signed their stuff first. Because he's like, I know how heavy that equipment is. Can everybody come in here real quick?
Yeah.
Nice.
So he was real cool about it, apparently.
That's awesome.
Okay, so for the next question.
Yes.
This is Adrian sends this in. I'm actually going to preface this by saying, if you do not want to answer this question, you do not have to. But he says, personal question. What are your jobs right now? Jobs you had and your dream job. Sorry for not being a geeky question, just being curious here.
I'll just say I do call center work because I don't know how much I can say.
Yeah.
I do call center work. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I'm willing to say the past ones because I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, same here. Anymore.
I worked for Project Fi at one point, and I still have their phone service on my phone. They're not a bad phone service, but they were a terrible company at the same time. Well, not entirely. Like they were contracted, so that company specifically is they're terrible. But I worked for Nest right after that, and they were great. It's just that Nest had decided to go with a different company. That's all it was. I did Google Express. That, I think, is a shitty service, I'm not gonna lie, because every time I get calls, they're like, everything is missing. I'm like, I don't want to use this ever in my entire life.
Yeah.
And then before all that stuff, I worked retail. A lot of retail. Worked Target, Sam's Club, Kohl's, Rue 21 for like a week. They didn't like me.
They're like, we're not going to schedule you anymore.
That's pretty much what happened. It's funny because the way I dress now is how I dress then. They're like, you don't look like you work here. I'm like, I guess that's true. Yeah. And I remember, it's funny because I ended up catching people stealing because of it, because people didn't think I worked there.
Yeah, so they were just like,
I was like, hey, stop it.
Do you have a dream job that you haven't gotten to?
I wanted to direct at one point for a long time.
Nice.
I took film courses here in Austin for a bit, and they told me I was really good at it, because I was really good at planning stuff.
Yeah.
Because there was a course that we did. They're like, we had to film something at the end of the month, or not the end of the month, the end of the semester, and I worked my ass off getting it all planned together. Mm-hmm. And I showed it to them, and I was like, yeah, I got everything ready, and they're like, you're the only person who's gotten anything. It's like, you did literally everything before anyone even looked at it.
Wow.
I was like, oh, fuck. Because it meant that I had the film first. I
Yeah.
had this whole script written out. And to show how much of a Castlevania nerd I am, it was based on a lot of, like, Castlevania stuff.
Yeah.
I just wanted to do something like it.
Well, you and your roommate are both filmmakers, or like wannabe filmmakers.
Well, I did for a while, but I don't know nowadays. I'm not as creative as I used to be, I guess is the best way of putting it. Because I haven't
Yeah.
written in so long that I just haven't, my mind doesn't have that mindset. Because when I was in that point, I was able to write that script in like 3 days.
Right, but
Where
that's
I
a
can
muscle,
barely-
and you were using it regularly then, and you're not using it regularly
Well,
now.
exactly,
But that doesn't mean
but-
you can't get back to it if you didn't want
But the
to.
thing is, I'm now a way better talker than I am anything else.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because now people are like, you're really good at like just talking to people. Mm-hmm. And now it's just like, honestly, I kind of want to do like interview stuff. Honestly,
Yeah.
I'd like to just interview people. To be honest, like I tried it out at RTX, and I'm like, I like this a lot. I like being able to just sit here and ask people questions and
Yeah.
stuff. And I'm like, hey, what do you think about this?
It's
And I thought it was really cool.
yeah, it's really hard to get people to open up or to like feel comfortable talking without just doing like stock questions like, what are you here for? How is it going? And you can get people to open up, and it's I think a good interviewer, it's hard to find.
The fun thing with how's it going is how's it going can work. It's just it depends on how you say it.
Right.
Like if you sound like you're just like, hey, how's it going? Like it's they're not gonna give a fuck. They're like, hey, how's your day going, man? Like, did you want to just like hang out? Want to talk about some random shit?
Yeah.
Like, you get super excited.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. I was like, yeah, everything's going great. That's why I'm good at my call center job. Like my boss right now, he's just like. It's like you have the ability of jib, like you can just talk for hours about nothing, and everyone will just listen to you.
Yeah. Well, when you make people feel comfortable in you talking, it makes them feel comfortable talking. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would like to do more of that, to be honest, because with directing at the time, I didn't think I could be anything in front of the camera. But now I'm just like, honestly, I actually would like to be in front of the camera more. Like I think that sounds more fun than doing directing now.
Yeah.
Personally, although I'd still like to start writing again. It's a muscle that hasn't worked in a long time.
Follow. I don't know if you do. You know who Cargill is?
Yeah.
Because I know we like hang out in the same circle, so I don't. But if you follow him on Twitter, he gives the best writing advice ever. That I also don't follow.
Yeah.
'Cause I used to want to be a filmmaker. I wanted to
Yeah.
be the next Sam Raimi, but
I think that's how most of us are, at least in our
there's
circle.
a bunch of nerds that are like wanted to be filmmakers.
But the thing about filmmaking, it's one of those things that I've accepted, as time has gone on, is that, some people, they work hard enough towards it that either A, they eventually get there, or B, they get there way later in life.
Yeah.
Like Dimitri recently, he worked his ass off, and now he got chosen for the
mentorship for
mentorship.
Yeah, a friend of ours. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, goddamn, like he worked his ass off for that.
Yeah, I did.
And it's just one of those things. Sometimes you just have to go for it and hope for the best. In my instance, I was like, I had a few, like I had too many dreams at once, because at one point I wanted to be a lawyer at one point. Mm-hmm. And then I gave that up because I was like, I don't really want to learn the Constitution.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like, it's just one of those things. It's like, all it is this, are you willing to go for it? And then I got to the point where I'm like, I don't really know what I want anymore. Like, because my mom would always be like, well, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. I really don't.
We were
Even now, I don't.
We were, I feel like, similar generations. I don't know
Yeah.
how old you are, but I imagine we're close in age just based
Yeah.
on the things we talk about.
Yeah, I'm like 28. I turned 29 in January.
Okay, yeah, so I'm 31, so we're not too far off.
Exactly.
I'm older than both of you.
Yeah. But I feel like we were raised on, well, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Exactly.
And so, like, when I was 13, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a forensic pathologist. That's what I'm going to be. And I was hell-bent on it. I almost got a scholarship my sophomore year, for forensic science in high school to go to college. Like, I was just like, this is what I'm going to be. And then I became a 18-year-old and was like, oh, I want to explore meanwhile the entire time, like, creative stuff was something I was always doing and wanting to be a part of films or learn about films. And it's so weird to like think like, had I just pursued the thing I enjoyed and not followed through on the like, well, you need to become an adult. What job would an adult do? What would you like? It threw my whole thing off. The whole like, you need to know now. Meanwhile, I was 13 years old.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I always have an issue with when you're young, is that everyone's just like, what do you want to do? And I'm just like, you're at that age where I'm like, I want to be a Ghostbuster. Like,
right? Yeah.
That's your thought process.
What was that? Like 8, 9, 10 years old, and they're like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I was like, I don't know. I want to be a basketball star who was also a fucking rapper like Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, the thing
Fucking course you did, John.
You know, and but that's again, that's like 8 or 9 years old.
Yeah, because you're a kid, man. I wanted
Yeah.
to be a Spice Girl. I still want to be a Spice Girl, but
still
they
wanna be a
won't. Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, who
Dude, I
would
would not be
Ghostbuster?
mad if Dan Aykroyd gave us all a call and was like, "Hey, I need
gonna
Ghostbusters."
actually-
You're
I
like,
need Ghostbusters.
Fuck yeah, I'd be a
We're there,
Ghostbuster.
man.
Well, I remember I wanted to be an actual like parapsychologist and all that. I wanted to do everything they legitimately
I wanted to
were
be a
doing.
cryptozoologist so
I wanted
bad.
to do all of those
still
actual
wanted-
things, and then I was like, and then at one point you reach the age where you're like, oh, that doesn't actually make money,
Right? Yeah.
As much as you're like, I want to do it for the love of it.
What if you
You're like, no.
interviewed other paranormal investigators?
You have no idea how much I would have loved to do that. Actually, how much I would love to do that now.
Because there's an Austin Paranormal Society.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
is.
I've heard about those guys.
Yeah. There's
Ironically enough, from the Austin Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
ATX Ghostbusters. My brother and his friend Zach Martin were helped create one of those. But turns out there's 2 of them here.
Oh, uh-oh. Are they rival gangs?
Not entirely. Apparently they're not like, they help each other sometimes, but it's like kind of weird the way they are.
Yeah.
I forgot what the other one calls themselves. I think they're called the Longhorns Ghostbusters or some shit.
Ugh. Because everything gotta be Longhorns.
Something
right?
like that. I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I used to hang out with them in my Ghostbusters attire.
Yeah.
For like kids and shit. I thought it was kind of fun. But it was one of those things that I'm like, I wish this was my actual job.
Yeah.
I wish
Yeah.
I was, but legitimately out doing Ghostbuster shit at the same time.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, when I actually got into working, because like when I actually, get your first job, I went into call center work. So that's the only job I've ever had. I never worked at like retail. I never worked at a McDonald's or fast food or whatever. I went right into.
That's how come you didn't know what a SKU was.
Yeah, SKUs.
Because SKU is a retailer's
it's
thing.
very
Yeah.
much a
Well, I mean,
It's a barcode.
Yeah, I know what it is. It's just
It's
you
just
never,
the fact that
you never
it's the fact
verbalized
that
it. You
you
never had to.
speculated what
Yeah.
the U was for is what caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, it's just a SKU. Like, we've never once considered what is. I forgot what it actually stands for. I used
I
to
don't
know
remember.
that.
It's been a
Yeah,
minute.
but yeah, so it's so I've always done that. Now, I mean, growing up, when I actually kind of like started to go to college, I was like, what do I want to do? It's kind of funny because this was, again, the internet wasn't where it is now.
Oh yeah, we never would have even considered
But
some of the things we do now.
Here's the thing, is what I wanted to do now is what a lot of YouTubers are doing now. Like, there was no YouTube when this was going on. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, I want to do short series-based videos.
Yeah, that's
and put
true.
them on the internet for people to watch. And like my teachers in college are like, that's stupid. How would you even, like, no one will be able to download those. No one will be able to watch those. You're essentially throwing away money. And like, so I never did it.
Yeah.
Because A, my teachers told me I was stupid.
albino black sheep.
And then, B, none of my friends wanted to help me make any of this stuff. But like, I actually even like got permission from, like, my first job was a company called Everyone's Internet. It was an internet service provider. It doesn't exist anymore. And I actually got permission from like the owner to film stuff on the call center floor, as long as it was late at night, after, when most of the people went home, and there was only like maybe like 4 employees in the entire building, because we were a 24-hour call center.
Oh, okay.
And as long as it was in the area that wasn't being used, and we weren't too disruptive and didn't destroy anything. So I actually had this whole like 10 episode series that was like maybe episodes that were like 4 to maybe 9 minutes long at most, about just random weird stupid shit happening at a call center, because this is what I had available to me.
Yeah.
But again, no one wanted to help. No one wanted to be in it. Everyone wanted to talk about it. I'll go, oh, that's really cool. You should totally do it. Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Oh, wouldn't it be funny if you had a character who did this? It's like, okay,
yeah, everyone
I got
wants
it.
to be a part of the like ideas process.
But no one wants to help you actually make it. Like, even like there were friends. I was like, hey, I just want you to do this character. And they'd be like, no, I don't want to be in front of the camera. Okay, fine. Then what do you want? Then be a boom mic operator for me. Hold this boom. No, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to, I just wanted to, like, tell you this really funny idea that I thought of. And I'm like, okay, well, the whole thing's already written.
Yeah.
And then I just got frustrated and said, well, fuck this shit. I'm never going to do this. This is never going to be, my college course teachers were, telling me it would never, like, that'd just be throwing away money and it would never lead to anything. And again, this is when YouTube did not exist.
Yeah.
And then,
Newgrounds is probably the closest thing at this point?
Yeah, Newgrounds, there was some other...
Well, like, Flash videos were the thing back then.
Yeah, like, So
you just create yourself a GeoCities site and upload it.
Yeah, pretty much. So it was just like, all right, well, fine, fuck it. And then, like, I ended up moving to Austin many, many years later after dropping out of college because those same professors were also whatever, made me just not want to be in college anymore. And I ended up moving here to Austin, and, and then now the internet's the way it is, and it's just like, well, fuck me.
Yeah, you were just, like, off by a few years.
Yeah, I was off, like, 2-3 years, and I would have been like, this is what I want to do. And people went, well, it's kind of a thing that people are starting to do, so maybe,
The main issue, was that you thought of it just before it would have been a good idea. And even then, you probably still could have made it work. It's just that no one else wanted to make it work with.
Yeah.
Which is the hardest
part. That's the actual issue.
Yeah. That's why most YouTube stars from old YouTube...
Yeah.
are just people standing in front of a camera.
Yeah.
Because then you're only relying on that one person.
Yeah.
Because anybody else wouldn't have gotten it. But now it's easier to get more people to be a part of it because they do the, like, well, I can be a YouTuber? I can YouTube?
Yeah.
Well, it still would have worked because the way, Bam Margera and some of them started was just filming random nonsense.
Yeah.
That was basically Jackass before they were given a budget to hurt themselves.
Yeah.
They were just hurting themselves normally.
I did not like Jackass, and then the media just stayed in that direction.
Yeah.
Then you end up with, like, the Logan Pauls and the...
Yeah.
The problem was it wasn't even that stayed in that direction because at least they were clever about their stuff.
Well, at least they were endearing people.
That was the thing, is they were endearing, they were clever about some of their dumb shit.
Yeah.
It was never like, hey, watch me, like, set myself on fire and you should do it kind of thing is the issue.
It's like, but yeah, even like back when I worked at Everyone's Internet, the closest I ever got is there was a guy in Colorado at the time that I just found online that made a bunch of short films, and a lot of them were horror based. And one of the big ones he did was Freddy versus the Ghostbusters, which actually got a lot of got a lot of and the big thing with him, he was like, I can't put it online because the file's too big. I don't have the hosting for it. I worked for an internet service provider. They didn't care what we hosted on our personal web space. And literally, they didn't care what bandwidth got hit to it as long as we were an employee. So I was like, I'll fucking host it for you. And he's like, you sure? And I'm like, yeah, I don't fucking care. And I put it on there. And literally, I actually got pulled into an office meeting. They're like, hey, do you know that this file is getting this kind of bandwidth in our servers? Yeah, is that bad? And they're like, no, it's just more than we're used to for a file. I was like, oh. I was like, do you need me to take it down? They're like, no, we just wanted to make sure that you put it there. And I'm like, yeah, I did. And they're like, okay, well,
yeah, I remember
have a nice day. Yeah. So it's like I'm actually like in the credits for it as being like a web host for them. And then they did a sequel, Return of the Ghostbusters, which
I also remember that one.
Yeah, which I actually am sort of name dropped in that movie because they have an evil corporation called Lab Rat Industries, which my screen name at the time was Lab Rat.
Fuck, I didn't even think about that because my brother showed that to me years ago.
Yeah, so it's like I also hosted the DVD ISO file that people could download for that as well for a long time.
That's funny,
and that guy's now in Hollywood making movies. He just made, what is it, Snake Out of Compton or whatever?
Oh, yeah.
Fucking movie.
I forgot about that as a thing.
Like, he made that.
Holy shit.
He also made a horror movie called...
Chemical?
Yeah, Chemical Peel.
Yeah.
Which I bought on DVD, but I've yet to watch.
Yeah, we have so many fucking unopened DVDs right now.
That'll happen in this day and age.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so I want, all of us here at some point wanted to be in, like, film or whatnot.
Well, clearly we're in the entertainment industry in our own sad way.
Yeah. But, you know, for me, I like to talk and, so that's led to me being, call center support and being good at that. And, as far as places I've worked at Everyone's Internet, which doesn't exist anymore. Mm-hmm. From there, I went and worked at Dell for a while. And then I left Dell and worked for Blizzard. the video game company, as technical support.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, and then I got fired.
Make ice cream.
Yeah, I left there and
Turn them upside down.
Yeah, exactly.
and then I worked for a couple of companies that are no-name companies. Though one of the companies I worked for, my boss was the brother of Zach Galifianakis,
That's really weird.
which was weird.
Yeah, that was weird.
And then
You shouldn't tell people about that.
yeah.
It's too weird.
It's also like a weird company too, because they're like it was like a company that did like databases for car dealerships.
That is kind of strange.
But yeah, so and then my current job, I'm not gonna go
Yeah, it's
into.
best not to say what your actual current one is.
Yeah, I'm not my current job. I'm
You
not
don't want
gonna-
people to know you're a cam girl?
Yeah, well,
Exactly.
Oh, shit, sorry.
I was
I
trying
want
to
to
keep
show
that
how much I
secret.
show my asshole to people.
Yeah, well, but yeah, so I mean, my current job, I don't want to say the company because again,
You work there?
I work
Because I
there.
like the people I work with.
Well, it's not even that I like the people
For
that I
me,
work
at
with.
least.
It's
Because I
that,
signed an NDA.
well, it's
It's funny because my place is actually like, we want you to tweet about it. It's one of those things like, I don't know if you guys want me to, though, based
that's-
on what the things I talk about.
Right?
that's actually like when I worked at Blizzard.
Yeah.
Like if I had actually, while I was working there, in anything said I worked for Blizzard, they could terminate me.
Yeah.
And I was doing that podcast before I worked at Blizzard, and so when I got hired on, I was like, also, I do a podcast where we do talk about video games, and their reaction was, okay, here's the deal: you can't talk about on this podcast. You can talk about video games. You cannot talk about Blizzard products. You cannot mention that you're an employee of Blizzard. If you're doing any type of video, you cannot have anything that says Blizzard anywhere around you. If we find out that you have done this, you will be terminated. Because it was basically, if anything said Blizzard anywhere in any of the videos, it was construed as I was speaking on behalf. Anything I said was construed as speaking on behalf of
Yeah, since
Blizzard.
you're an employee, you would be considered like a representative
Yeah.
of
That's
Blizzard,
fair,
yeah.
though, on that one.
That is
You know,
fair.
At least they gave you, like, upfront, hey, since you said this is what these are
Well-
our terms.
Well,
Some
and it was
places
also,
don't even do that.
and it was also, well, I mean, yeah, there's like I had a friend that we did before I did Geek Bombast, or before we started Geek Bombast, that I was on another podcast, and he ended that podcast. The guy who was running that ended that podcast because he got a job for Sony,
Oh.
and Sony said,
No.
you can't. Well, the funny thing is that was a comic books podcast. It was like strictly comic books and nothing else. Sony said you have to stop that. If you want to be employed here, you cannot do that. You know, we will not hire you unless you stop doing that. So he kind of came up with this. He didn't want to be like, hey, I'm gonna cancel the show because I really want this job at Sony. Instead, he came up with like some weird, stupid reason on why he didn't want to. Like he waited until we took like a Christmas break and then came up with a reason on why he was just going to end it.
Yeah.
And then later we all found out that it was like because he got a job at Sony and they told him he couldn't.
Meanwhile, had he just said, "Hey, I got a job at Sony," and they
It was
said,
probably because you would have.
what would have happened is we would have still did the podcast. He just wouldn't have been on it.
yeah.
And he didn't want that. He wanted it if the podcast was if he wasn't going to be on it, there wouldn't be a podcast. Is what he wanted.
Yeah.
So dumb.
So then we went and started Geek Bombast because of that.
Yeah.
He died on his waiter's home planet.
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, so I mean, as far as that's kind of my.
Oh,
stuff.
I've been all over the place as
Yeah.
far as working.
Yeah, and like I said, if you don't want to talk about any of it,
Oh, I don't care. My first job was at Taco Bell. I couldn't eat Taco Bell for like 3 years after that.
and now we eat it all the time.
Dude, yeah, and now we eat it all the time. It's different. I don't know. You know, that was when I was like 16, 17.
Yeah.
I am much older now. And I've worked Popeye's Chicken. I worked a lot of fast food for a minute. I worked at a party supply store that doesn't exist anymore, where I got Employee of the Month because it was October and I wore a costume every day, every single day of October. They were like, we only have like the week of Halloween for costumes, and I was like, yeah. And they're like, you're dressed like a cowgirl right now. It's October like 5th, and I'm like, yeah. They're like,
I don't see the
okay,
problem.
yeah. I was like, oh yeah, like we're all decorated. Like you walk in and there would be like bodies like hanging from the ceiling, and it was all like spooky, scary. And I was dressed in Halloween costumes because we would get them for super cheap.
Oh, okay.
So I would and then I used to keep all my costumes, so I would literally just rotate through all my shit that I had, and then like rearrange all the stuff to make different, similar costumes. I've worked at car dealerships. I've worked at I was like a waiter for a second. Apparently, the worst job I've ever had is being a waiter. I'm really bad at being a waiter.
Their brother's like, you should be a waiter, because when I was looking for jobs, it's like, I don't trust me with food.
It's
period.
difficult, and people are. It's just so weird why it's harder than like fast food, but it's harder than fast food.
It's harder because the difference with fast food and being a waiter is that with fast food, you take the order and then that's mostly the end of the conversation. Mm-hmm. Whereas with waiters, you have to constantly come back and be like, do you still like me?
Well, I remember like somebody had a bill for like $200 worth of food. They had a big party and I was main server, and then I had other people like helping me deliver food and stuff like that. And they were very like, this is a tiny house converted into a restaurant. And this person wanted me to sing them. He was like, can't you bring your staff to come sing happy birthday? It's this person's birthday. And I was like, it's like me and another waitress. No. Like, I didn't give an attitude. I was like, oh, we don't really do that here. Sorry. Like, if you guys want to sing or whatever, that's fine. And we have these desserts and I can give you them complimentary and whatever. And he was like, oh, okay, $200 bill, no tip. And that was the only table I could take that entire time because it was a huge... And it's just like, God, I fucking hate being a server. I've worked for an accountant. I worked as a personal assistant to Corey for Spill. I was an audio editor. I did all that fun stuff. And currently I'm a baker. Currently I'm a bread baker. I've been a cupcake baker. I've been just a pastry baker for... grocery stores. I just kind of jump between jobs. A bookseller. I've worked at a comic book store. I worked at Barnes and Noble. I just take jobs wherever I can. Yeah, it's very much something that I learned as a kid too, or a younger person too. That's why I worked at a movie theater. It was my first job. I desperately, like, my dream job, besides, like, I will get to what my actual dream job is, but my dream job was either working at a movie theater or Blockbuster.
Oh, wow.
Because I love going to the movie. Like, my childhood was renting movies and watching them throughout the week, and every weekend going to the movie theater and watching movies. Like, that's me, my brother, my mom would do that every week, and then it'd be other, like, rotating cast of family members and friends that would come with us, but it was always just us three going to the movies, or watching movies at home. And so, like, my whole life has been movies. Yeah. And... yeah, so it's just like, of course I want to go to Blockbuster. They knew the guy that worked at Blockbusters had a crush on me. I was oblivious of this sort of thing until I was like 18. And so we would go in and I would be like, oh, I heard about this movie. Do you guys have it? No, we don't. And then the next day that we would go in, like 3 days later, whenever you would have to return your movies, and we would go look for new movies, it would be in because he ordered it for me because he had a crush on me. And it's like, no one does that anymore. I don't have that kind of life experience anymore. But I just loved it. I love the idea that you could just sit there, recommend movies to people, watch movies all day. I'm really good at being a cashier. I'm really good at retail jobs. Like, it's just like the perfect fucking job. Being an usher at a movie theater sounds like it would be an awesome job. I never got hired at a movie theater.
When I worked in a movie theater, it was it was good for the age I was at, but it's also where I got my back injury. It was because it was my first job. It was minimum wage at the time, which was $6.55. Yeah. But I watched any movie I wanted to for free, like, period. Yeah. And I worked at an IMAX too, so I also could watch the IMAX for free. That's amazing. And but it was also really hard because I worked in an area that was a little richer of San Antonio. Yeah. And so the celebrity people would come, and so we would have to clean the theaters faster to let, like, Eva Longoria watch Madagascar 2 for some reason, kind of thing. Yeah. Like, I remember they got mad at me because they were just like, we need you to clean this faster. I'm like, why? It's like, because Eva Longoria and Tonya Parker are here, so we can tell them to fuck off. And they're just like, no, like, god damn it. It's like, you're lucky that I like you. It's like, yeah. But it was both, like, one of the funnest, but also, like, one of the weirdest jobs I've ever had. Because it was one of those places that, like a sitcom, there was weird shit going on in it. Yeah. And even to the point where there were, like, plot twists kind of things that would catch me off guard. The biggest, which I've told this story on other podcasts, which is a guy I worked with robbed the place.
Really?
Because what happened was when I worked there, there's this big dude I used to work with, and I used to hang out with him and this other guy, and we were talking, and I made a joke. I was like, "Yeah, we should just rob the place," and we laughed about it. 3 months later, like he left like a month or two later, like 3 or 4 months later, I come into work and there's cops everywhere, and I'm like, "What the fuck happened?" He's like, "Did you hear? Big Jim robbed the fucking movie theater." And then I thought back to me making that joke.
Like, oh no!
I was like, that dirty motherfucker.
He didn't make me a part of the plan. I'm an accomplice, you son of a bitch.
He robbed it by coming in the outfit for people that were like management essentially, because the normal outfit was a white shirt, slacks, black shoes, and a red bow tie, which I still have to this day.
Yeah.
I almost wore it to Kyle's wedding.
It
turns out it was in my pocket when I was there. The management just wore a black tie essentially. Mm-hmm. And he came in dressed like that, and he put on a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson mask, and robbed the place. And he got away with like some odd amount of thousands. It was like maybe 15,000, something like that.
Wow.
Something pretty big, more than I expected a movie theater
yeah.
to hang on to. He fled to Germany.
Like you do.
And I didn't hear about it for a while until one day, like towards the end of my time there, somebody walked up to me and was like, "Did you hear? They got Big Jim in Germany." I'm like, "What the fuck happened?" He's like, "Well, here's how the story has gone, according to everyone who found out, was he lost his wallet, and he went to the police and told them outright, 'Oh, by the way, there might be a warrant out for my arrest.' And they arrested him on the spot."
Right, yeah.
And according to the court documents, when he fled, he originally fled to Spain, and he was robbed of all the money he stole.
So he didn't even have...
So he didn't even get to keep it.
Wow.
So somebody outright robbed him of what he robbed, and I thought it was the funniest goddamn thing on the planet.
That was kind of hilarious.
And
Jesus.
But it was, and the thing is, that robbery thing, I didn't find out until the beginning of my current job, because I was talking to my current coworkers about it.
Yeah.
And I looked it up and found out that that's what happened to him afterwards.
Jesus.
And I just thought it was so fucking funny. But it was shit like that. They're like little plot twists in this movie theater, and like stereotypical situations, like the old guy is Santa Claus, and like sorority women are constantly sitting on him, that sort of shit.
Jesus.
And I was like, "I hate you so much." She's like, because that was his job for like a month, was being Santa. And since we were right near UTSA, it was a bunch of drunk ass sorority girls sitting on him, and he didn't have to get up. If he needed something, we had to get it for him.
Yeah.
And so I'd go up and be like, "Yeah, Santa wants a drink." And then we would just get him a drink.
Santa needs his popcorn.
He earned that shit, though, because he was a retired police officer. Mm-hmm. And one time he threw out these two guys, and they jumped him when he was taking a smoke break, and he beat their fucking asses.
Was he still dressed like Santa?
No, he was in his normal outfit,
Yeah.
but his hair was kind of messed up, and his shirt was a little messed up. I'm like, "Dude, what happened?" He's like, "Oh, I got jumped outside. Do you mind telling management to call the cops? They were both like unconscious outside." I was like, Did you fucking beat their asses?" He's like, "Fuck yeah, I did." Motherfuckers did not expect that.
That's amazing.
Like,
They're all tied up, Spider-Man style.
It was
just
amazing.
Waiting
Like
for
I was working there when The Dark Knight came out again on IMAX, and I must have watched it like every day for like a week.
That's hilarious.
The IMAX, because I could.
My dream job is to open a micro theater, like just a single screen movie theater. I would love it if it's just horror movies, but if it's just like classic stuff, older, not necessarily. I don't know. It feels like a lot of theaters, they tout themselves as being like classic films, and then it's just like 2000s and
yeah, their version of
recent.
classic is strange.
Yeah,
maybe 1980s.
Yeah, and it's not I try not to. It sounds really pretentious to be like classic films or whatever, but it's the same thing in like school where you read Shakespeare, you read Mark Twain, you touch on the classics because they're important to portray culture and they're important forms of storytelling.
Absolutely.
And I feel like high school, like my real dream is to have this theater that I can introduce high school students I would love to have like summer programs where they can come in and learn the history of filmmaking, the history of like cinema, to learn about the classics before getting into like, and if I made money, to send some to film school, if that's like what they want to do, and have like scholarship program where I can send a kid a year at least to film school, where throughout the day it's just a single screen or maybe a couple more screen theater, showing awesome movies that people don't get a chance to see on the big screen, and then having the ability to share that knowledge with like teenagers and kids, because I don't want my audience, I don't feel like my audience should be college students that are going to film school, or the fucking, no offense to our group of friends, but like our group of friends, like 30 to 40-year-old people that already know about these films. Like, they're my customers, but my goal audience is high schoolers.
Oh, okay.
If that makes sense.
No,
like,
that makes perfect sense.
Like, I don't mind taking their money so they can watch a great movie on the big screen, but that money is going to high schools, is what I want. Because I just think it's getting a little lost. It's my way of preserving film.
It kind of is. A lot of people don't know about some of my old favorite stuff. Like, I'm a big fan of old John Wayne films.
Yeah.
Big fucking fan of those. Like, with Stagecoach is a movie that a lot of people just don't know, but is one of the most, like, influential westerns, like, ever made. Like, every possible fucking, like, stereotype in a western character has come from that
there.
movie.
Yeah.
Like the hooker with a heart of gold, and the guy who, you know, might be wanted or something, but he's not really a bad guy kind of thing, or the drunk doctor, that kind of thing.
Well, and you're getting into this world of like people that watch The Simpsons. Not that anybody nowadays is watching The Simpsons, but they don't know what they're referencing.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You're missing a whole, like, even Family Guy, which is probably a little more popular than what The Simpsons is right now, has a lot of references to films that I don't think people even know about. It's so weird to me that I, like, when I worked at the cupcake shop I worked at, I had people that were like 19 that were like, oh, I've never watched Back to the Future.
Oh, dude, it still catches me off guard when I meet somebody who says something like that.
Or they're very like, well, I don't want to watch anything if it's... The black and white argument is...
Oh my god, I hate those arguments
holy
so much.
shit, get over yourselves and just watch the movie. It's not about what color their fucking hair is or whatever. It's about what's the story going on. Like, reading a book is all black and white. So you should be able to handle yourself when you're watching a movie.
Yeah, the problem is that people will make the argument about random shit they shouldn't be making arguments about.
Well, it's just an excuse for their laziness, because they don't want to go out and find like the right movie and
I guess that's true.
whatever.
Too.
And then you
The
get
effects are old. I don't believe any of it.
well,
fuck you, dude.
Yeah, I hate those arguments. But like, I don't. I also, the people that do recommend, the people that are trying to get younger people, they go too hard, and then it's like, you should be why didn't you watch Citizen Kane? And it's like,
no one
unless you enjoy filmmaking a lot and you kind of get the importance of Citizen Kane, it's not an easy watch.
Even then, like, as much as I like film, I'm like, I really don't want to watch Citizen Kane ever again.
I really like Orson Welles.
I do too, but that movie, I think, was only interesting the first time because there's the mystery to it.
Yeah.
I think for Citizen Kane, you're right. When you watch it the first time and the mystery behind the movie, it's really good. But I do feel, as someone like myself who got really into the idea of behind the scenes and the idea of filmmaking and looking at what, like, the techniques and stuff that go into making that movie. Like, I want to rewatch it so I can.
Cinematography is.
Well, it's one of the things where if you actually look at it, they had a decent sized budget for the time, but even then, it wasn't. It was actually still pretty cheap.
Yeah, there's one of the sets is the same set, but it's like the lighting is different to make it look like a completely different set.
And also, they would buy items and furniture that were bigger.
Oh yeah.
Like, they would get like props that were bigger than they were supposed to be, just to give that like one of the sets didn't even have a ceiling.
Yeah.
And it was always shot from like a specific angle that made the room look bigger than it was.
Yep.
And like items that were bigger were to make the room look more lavish. Like they would do like little camera tricks and little tricks with props that were in all actuality inexpensive and cheap, and would do things with them to make it look more lavish and more extravagant and everything.
Yeah, from a filmmaking point of view, it's a gorgeous film, but
but then it's like a slow fucking
story-wise, I'm like,
story about a guy starting off as a good guy and slowly turning into a bad guy, or you could just watch The Dark Knight and watch Harvey Dent to focus on Harvey Dent.
That's what I love about that episode of Family Guy where he's like, yeah, I'm banned from renting from the Blockbuster anymore. And it's like somebody watching Rosebud, and it cuts to Peter going, "It was a sled. I just saved you 2 hours."
It's just, I don't know. Like I understand the significance of watching certain films, but I think that like there's a better way of easing a young audience into those kinds of movies.
I would show them Stagecoach, because the Stagecoach is still a fun like Western. Like it's this, like that's the thing, is some older films can be really exciting. You don't have to show them the mystery, like where everything's just kind of slow. Like you can show them like the more exciting action films where it was perfectly fine to beat up a horse. Like there's a lot. Like that's the only like weird thing about some of those old films. But even then, they're just like. But that just means that's all they could do back then.
Yeah.
There wasn't an effect to like make it look like a horse maybe got hurt. Like no, that horse fucking probably died.
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
You got to teach people what length cinema used to have to go to entertain you, and now everything's CGI blood and CGI smoke.
Well, and even then, and there's nothing wrong with using and utilizing what you have available to you, like CGI, like all the stuff that is used now.
It just makes you appreciate it.
The importance of knowing how you got from how people with a much more limited thing did a similar idea, did gore, did horror, and then how they do it now, and when they do it right now with what they have, with CGI, with those special effects that weren't even an idea back then, it'll make you appreciate it that much more. Absolutely. And hopefully it'll inspire people to tell stories better than what's being told. I mean, my whole idea of wanting to own a theater started from listening to commentaries from directors on DVDs and having them almost every single one of them had and I went to the dollar theater all the time as a kid, and I watched my favorite movies, and they were these old classics, and that's what inspired me. And it's like, unless these kids are like downloading it online, and I'm not even saying I'm against it, but unless they know to do that, they're not going to do that, and they're not going to be exposed to it.
Yeah, and most kids can't really afford to go spend $15 to go to a movie at the theaters.
Yeah. And if even the dollar theaters here don't do anything classical, basically.
Yeah, and so I think I'm not sure if the Austin Film Society Theater, which does do classic movies, allows a younger audience.
Yeah.
I don't like the Alamo Drafthouse doesn't allow a younger audience. You have to be like 16 and older.
Yeah, unless you're like accompanied by an adult.
Yeah, and
even then, like they have rules that showings after a certain time, not at all.
Yeah, so it's just like really particular, and it's just I feel like it's very like kids these days don't watch the classics, and then they try to, and it's very like, well, I'm only going to allow you to watch the hardcore. It's the same shit with, like, comic book fans, where it's like, you're not a real fan unless you read the, like, real boring old stuff from the, like, 60s, and I understand that the idea of it is really great.
Read all of Silver Age Superman. I'm never going to ask you to read Silver Age Superman in my entire life.
Yeah.
Unless you've read all of Watchmen, all of The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, it's just, why do you pick the media stuff? There's so many, like, even if I'm just talking about musicals, unless I feel like watching Seven Brides for Seven Brothers and Calamity Jane and An American in Paris and Singing in the Rain, watching stuff like that and then going to watch Cannibal the Musical, you'll have a different appreciation for it than you would if you just watch Cannibal the Musical and you're like, oh, they're singing fun songs and they're killing people. And it's just, I feel like, or like even Reefer Madness, the musical, has a real sense of like old 50s musical.
Well, I mean, even then, I mean, watching that stuff and then going to watch something like Pitch Perfect or Glee on TV, you do have a sense of appreciation of some of the stuff that they're doing
or an understanding of how they did it all completely wrong.
That too.
Yeah, there's that too for some of that. I don't know. There's when introducing somebody to something old, essentially, sometimes the thing that was basically the blockbuster from back then is never a bad thing.
Yeah.
Although don't watch Genghis Khan with John Wayne.
Nobody
should watch that.
It killed him, almost probably literally.
Yeah.
But I think with
is Genghis Khan the one that's like on a nuclear?
Yeah, it was the one that was on near the nuclear site. So all the
everyone that's worked on it has
got
cancer.
Mega cancer, including John Wayne.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
So yeah, that's why I said it probably literally killed him, because it literally killed most of the
everybody
people who
else.
worked on it.
That's
So
crazy. Anyway,
also,
I'm sorry.
It's just weird that John Wayne was playing.
John Wayne played Genghis Khan, and he had the mustache and everything, and it's fucking hysterically bad.
Yeah. There were a few more questions on here, but I'm actually going to not ask them because we've been recording for a really long time.
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure how long we've been recording because there was a very long break at one point because
our dog had a mental breakdown.
Which you've heard throughout this episode, and I apologize for it. This is not the normal, the norm for.
She was trying to answer the questions.
The norm for this podcast. She's just being a little bit more vocal than normal today. So I apologize about that. If this is your first episode, I'm sorry. Do trust me. Go listen to the other episode. You'll see not the same. As far as the rundown, thank you both Amanda and Michael for being on this week's episode and answering questions from our fans. And like I said, we might do this every 4 or 5 episodes.
Well, we're ready to believe you.
Yeah. As far as, and as always, like I said earlier, if you want to send in questions, you can always send them to geekbombast@gmail.com. You can tweet them at us on Twitter at geekbombast. You can send them to us on Facebook, facebook.com/geekbombast. We also have an Instagram account, which is at geekbombast. Pretty much if it's social media, we're just search for Geek Bombast and you'll find us. We also have if you want to find more, maybe you found this on YouTube and you're like, well, where are these these podcasts? I don't want to watch the podcast on YouTube. I want to download the episodes and everything. Where can I download them? You can download them on iTunes. You can download it on Stitcher. You can download it on Spotify. There's a few other places that I'm working to try to get the podcast on.
Some take longer than others. So.
Some have time limits, like the podcast actually has to be available for a certain amount of time before you can get on there, which we're currently
working on it.
We're working on it.
And then the spiel could be anywhere podcasts can be downloaded.
Yeah, I mean we have an RSS feed. Which is in the link notes down for the YouTube video. We're on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, please go subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's very, 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 very important because we're going to do more than just eventually, not right now, but eventually down the line, we're going to be doing more than just podcasts. We're going to actually have some video content as well. And if you want to know when that's out, you want to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. I do want to preface this with if you just do YouTube search Geek Bombast, the first channel that comes up, don't you can subscribe to that one, but that's not the channel that you need to be subscribed to. That's our old channel, which is now being branded as Geek Bombast Extra. But if you do a search on YouTube, one of the first videos you'll see is one of the episodes of this current run of podcast. If you click on that, subscribe to that channel. If we can get up to 100 subscribers on that YouTube channel, then we can fix the whole thing where it's whenever you do a search for Geek Bombast, it takes you to the correct YouTube channel. So that was very long for him to explain why, but I feel like I have to explain it. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe to on both, because I will put stuff on the old channel as well, like more vloggy type stuff, and then just kind of like behind the scenes. But with all of that, for this episode, from Michael, Amanda, our dog Joy, who's also been on this episode. Thank you for listening. Until next week, we're out. Hey, why don't you calm down?